Everyone has their cup of tea, their coffee,
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got my coffee. I'm ready.
their straight vodka.
I am ready as well.
Okay. All right. Well, this is the first time we're doing this live. This is the 10th PlusOne podcast. Big 1-0. We have a loose agenda, as we often do, which we'll probably not follow remotely. And it includes Sanctum,
Maybe.
Ruthless, Uber Builds, Uniques, League Extension, ExileCon, and like a little Q&A at the end. So I guess we'll probably just kick it off with Sanctum, because that's what the current league is. So what is, I guess, everyone's thoughts on Sanctum, not only as a mechanic, since you've experienced 3 or 4 patches to make it better, but what are your thoughts on Sanctum from the first time you've done it versus now that you have all your relics in place and an actual build? And I guess we start with Manni, because he's
Oh
here.
man,
Oh yeah.
my first Sanctums were in Ruthless, so it was actually so different. I was very glad to even complete the first floor, and then I would die in the second floor repeatedly, and eventually, when I was about to hit maps, I was getting into the third floor sometimes. So it was actually a roguelike experience, really. A lot of failing and a lot of dying. When I started the actual normal league and I had some experience from, playing Sanctum already, it actually didn't really feel like a roguelike much at all. You just kind of expected to clear it most of the time. When you played like a meta build in a normal game, you were strong enough to clear it right from the get-go, which is a bit easier than I expected. But it's fun. It's a fun league mechanic. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I'm still running it. How about you guys?
You're running it like casually, or you're like burning maps to do it?
Sometimes I kind of go hard on it and actually try to like farm a lot of Sanctums, like 1 or 2 per hour, but even if I'm not, I'm like doing it on the side still.
Yeah.
Still looking for better relics. Now that the league got extended, there's a lot of time to use the relics that we find now.
Yeah. Have you found any original sin attempts?
I've completed one already.
Okay.
I found 2 of them. Failed the first one, but succeeded in the second one.
Nice.
The ring is sitting there in my stash, but I don't know if I'm gonna use it or not. Maybe.
What build did you use to complete it?
I used my spark tricks there.
Yeah.
So obviously I respected for like full-on damage setup, going full damage auras, full damage nodes on the tree, everything. And can't really recommend Spark though. Spark doesn't go up the hills, up the ledges.
Mhm.
So sometimes there's like an archer uphill and you can't really hit it unless you like dash into him or something. It's kind of scary. It's not the perfect skill for the no-hit Sanctum, but second attempt was I got lucky. I actually almost died as well, but I made it through.
Did you have any specific major boons that helped you, like the one that says like the first hit doesn't do?
Yeah, I had that one.
Okay.
I had the
yeah.
revive one, but I didn't actually use it. I didn't get hit, but I could have gotten hit.
Yeah.
I already got it in like floor 3, so I almost died in floor 1 on that run. Because I had to dash up a hill right into an archer and he just narrowly missed me. It was scary.
Nice.
Have you done the run yet?
I have not. I currently have 3 saved up. I'm kind of just waiting towards like the last week of the league, because I figured my experience will probably be best if I just keep doing them back to back versus having them spread out. Like I'll probably learn the most from that style of play. I feel like if I did them sporadically, I just wouldn't really retain any kind of information. Plus,
I think you have to make like an actual build for it and practice
so
like 5-10 runs or something.
My plan is basically to do Volatile Dead, is what I wanted to do. I saw a couple people doing it. There was 2 guys that were doing it in trade, like super early on, but at the end of the night, they were stripping their accounts, just not reveal secrets. But I actually knew,
like a good skill.
I knew one of them, so that's why I had the insider scoop on that. But basically, yeah, you could pre-fire, obviously everything with it. You just stack up max balls, and they were just doing pure damage, pure crit, ZHP Volatile Dead.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Yep. I've seen that. I've seen SRS. I've seen Spark. People have been doing
Shockwave Totem is a big one.
Shockwave Totem plus
Tornado Shot.
Yep.
Stormbrand's really good too.
Yeah, brands, any brand skills. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did my second attempt at it last night, and I got to floor 4, room 5. I have not done any tech with like the balls, like or frost wall or totems or anything. So I just kind of like just brawl dogged it, and I got to that in the room where it's like the ball straight up and just failed it.
Yep.
And then my buddy's like, "Well, why don't
No.
you just use totems?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I realized that there's tech to like completely circumvent those balls.
Yeah.
So
It's a
So
very high
I-
chance you don't even get that room.
yeah,
So-
I tried to avoid it at all costs, and I got lucky, or unlucky, I guess. So
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, I was basically there. But I got 2 more keys to try, so I'm gonna wait, farm a little bit more
They're pretty
gear.
rare. The attempts themselves feel quite rare.
Yeah.
I want to say I
Yeah.
probably am on the luckier side. I've gotten 4 and 40.
Yeah, see,
So-
I've gotten
That's
one in.
insane.
It's
I'm
quite
at like
insane
1 in
lucky, yeah.
50 almost at the moment.
I'm like 2 in 100-ish
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here, pretty much.
Have you guys
between 100s.
found any of
Sounds about right.
the like Uber Lycia attempts, the bottle looking one, where it makes your
Yeah, that one is
Yeah.
relatively common. At least I'm getting it all the time.
So I've only found one of those, and I found 3 original sin attempts.
Oh.
So that's me. That's been the rarest
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
I think I found like 3 of them, but yeah, I don't
like
think it's that
6 or
common to
7.
be honest.
yeah. I can't imagine that's that difficult, really, because I feel like
It
most,
really isn't.
yeah, I feel like most of if you just have proper boons, it's going to mitigate most of those numbers anyway. But the reward for that is a balance of terror that has an extra modifier, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like a triple watches kind of similar thing.
But I'm not really sure what. But it can't roll the same modifiers twice, like the same type of modifier.
No, it's just a higher chance to get like a good combination. Higher chance to double temp chains, for example, or double.
Oh, so that's what I was
despair.
asking. So it can roll. You can roll the same curse twice.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
2 mods for each curse, and you can get them on the same jewel, even without the triple, right? The double can roll, like the regular jewel can roll the same curse twice already. You get
I
both
have
mods for
not
the
had
same
that
curse.
happen yet. It'd be cool to get.
Yeah, it is
though.
rare.
I'm not sure. The only one I really
I don't
wanted
think I
was
have that either.
I really wanted the temp chain CDR one, but I haven't gotten that yet. The ones I
Yeah,
don't
that was my very
care too much.
first one, and I've only gotten it once. Now I have like 20 jewels, and I still only have it once.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got it early.
The list of modifiers for the jewels are pretty okay. I mean, I think objectively quite a strong jewel.
Yeah,
It just requires, obviously you have to manually cast, which is kind of awkward.
Okay, yeah, I haven't used the jewel or like read into it too much, so you do actually have to like, yeah, self cast it, or what do they say, hand cast? You have to
Yeah.
hand cast it. You can't do like a non hit effect. Okay.
Some of them are
Yeah, it's
like
only self-casters.
really, really strong. Like the elemental weakness one, 40% of fizz gained as random
Yeah, that
elements.
one's crazy.
Yeah, I
that was the
just found
first
that
one I
one.
got. That was like
Nice.
I saw that and I was like, is that real? Like I can't be just 40% more damage for like no effort. I'm already basically hand casting my weakness anyway. But some of them are interesting. They're definitely not all created equal as far as what they do.
Yeah, like the Wither Despair one is really, really strong, especially with the Poison League we are having right now.
Yeah, cast it. Getting Wither on hit for 2 seconds or for 10 seconds is pretty insane. Some of them are just like
Yeah, it's kind of like Watcher's Eye, right? Some mods is just purposefully terrible, and some are really, really good.
yeah.
But honestly, with the rework to curses, hand casting a curse is not nearly as rare anymore, right? Like
No.
you don't really want to have curse on hit for some curses anyway, because hand casting them has like twice the effect. A 20/20 Ill Weakness is so much better than level 1 Ill Weakness from your corruption.
Yep.
So yeah, pretty good league to add those jewels to the game. Hopefully they stay. I would love to see that jewel every league.
That
It's a
is
fun unique.
that is the question. We have this. So it hasn't happened often historically. I think Ultimatum was the biggest example of this, where they introduced a set of 4 uniques, and then they were just gone forever. And they just came
Yeah.
back last league, but the actual league uniques themselves are probably some of the, I think, most enjoyable. I mean, there hasn't been that many league
They're also
uniques,
strong. The only bad one is the incredibly rare staff. It's kind of funny.
which is the only thing I care about. the
Rick stuff, man.
Yeah. The actual league, so the last time we had League Uniques was Calandra League. That was the last one, and it was only just the ring. And then before that, it was 3 other leagues of not having it. So in the past 5 leagues, we only had 1 league that has had Uniques aside from Calandra for the actual league mechanic, which is quite rare. But I thought they were just going to be done with League Uniques, to be honest, and just introduce them during patches. But it's nice to see them. The actual Uniques themselves are so good. Like the Amulet
is crazy.
Pretty
It's
insane,
like,
especially for hardcore.
yeah, it's like the only unique anyone ever talks about in hardcore, it seems. Very, very meta.
Yep.
Like dominating.
Yep.
Yeah, the jewel is very good, and even the helmet has a lot of good uses.
Yeah, helmet for any crit caster, pretty much, because of how wands have just high crit rate, typically. It's just like
exactly.
You get a huge amount of base crit.
Sadly, helmets is a very contested slot, but I still would use it for some builds to get a lot of crit.
And then there's the staff.
Yeah,
The staff is I guess for those who don't know, pretty much the other things have pretty close to equal drop rates overall, and then staff is just like 1 or 2%, which I think is still just like unfortunate that they make things. So I don't have the problem with things being rare, but it's just like if they're not really good, why are they rare? Kind of to a degree, like universally good, like things like or Ori at the end being 2% off of Uber Series. I get it, like or Progenesis, etc. But like hyper niche uniques, I feel like should be maybe a little bit more common. But the staff is used for one build in the game, really, which revolves around the Plume of Pursuit. It's the one I really want to play the build too, which is the frustrating part. But it basically interacts with the fact that, for those who don't know, the staff has incredibly high physical damage, highest PDPS in the game, huge multi-damage conversion to chaos and other elements. And then the downside is your max crit chance is 50, non-crits deal no damage. The kind of meme is you don't do damage half the time. You circumvent this by using Plume of Pursuit, saying your non-crits deal less damage. Well, it's irrelevant because they already do no damage. Your spell crits always crit on the final repeat. So if you have Echo, then that means that the first hit does nothing, and the second hit does tremendous amounts of damage. Then you
don't have to scale any crit.
No, you don't have to scale any crit chance at all. Yeah, and then the Divergent Echo, which is kind of nice because it's getting Awakened Echo would be significantly harder and more expensive also if you're in trade. This makes it so your final repeat does 60% more damage, which is a huge chunk of more damage on top of that. So basically your first hit does nothing, and your second hit is like a huge hit. That's kind of the meme. So it's a cool unique in its usage. It's just outside of this very, very, very specific thing. Its application isn't quite as cool. This league also introduced a bunch of other uniques. So before we talk about the Uber ones, briefly, I just want to touch on the jewels. Have you guys had a chance to mess around with any of the new jewels they added?
Well, I got really lucky and found a Storm Shroud a couple days into my league, like at level 95 or so. So I've been using that for ailment immunity ever since.
Yeah.
That one is very good.
Yeah, I think Storm Shroud is like the highlight of the jewel rework.
For sure.
It's so good. Like just getting element immunity on any build that cannot use the boots with a lot of element avoidance, or like doing it with one or two jewels. It's very good.
Or just Tempest Shield. Yeah.
Or that, yeah. Actually, no, it doesn't work like that, I think. Or does it?
I don't think it works like that.
Pretty sure.
No, I don't think so.
No.
You just like chance to avoid shock, I think, for it. But you can roll up to 50% of that on Abyss Jewels now. So
yeah.
With perfect rolls, 2 Abyss Jewels, and this jewel are going to make it ailment immune while adding other stats. Pretty good.
In general, yes. Yeah, I'm just clarifying the wiki. The Tempest Shield and like Fairgraves don't work because they're immune, not avoid, even though they say on the stat page avoid. One of the many minor discrepancies with,
yeah,
being
consistent.
That's okay. In Path of Egg, not in my game, never.
Clarity, not in my public zone, indeed.
Um,
I think the Witchbane is also usable.
that's the curse
That
one.
one looks
right?
pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah, the curse one. I was just about to say like that's the second really good one. I think like for mopping generally, I would use it. It's kind of really hard to fit it in because jewels are really contested slots nowadays with like
Yeah.
all the trade league setups and even in SSL setups.
Every build has like a thread, a Watcher's Eye, a Flesh and Flame, probably like in
Maven Jewel maybe.
maybe
Impossible
or
Escape,
even
exactly.
Sublime Vision,
Watcher's Eye,
whatever, all that stuff. There's like 3 or 4 jewels that let you jump around the tree now. It's
And then
gotten
the
we're
triple
getting
Grand
close to
Spectrum
like
setup is so good too.
we're getting close to max jewel entropy here. It's like it's gotten. I think there was like a point in time where a lot of builds like didn't even run that many jewels, or maybe like one cluster setup, and now we're back to where it's like if your build doesn't have 12 jewels, what are you even doing?
everyone's playing Scion now.
Science okay, yeah.
I mean, I've definitely decided for another cluster sometimes just to get another jewel socket in.
Oh yeah,
Large clusters I can run 2 unique jewels. Wouldn't be the first time I did that decision.
for sure. Yeah, I would say most builds, but like a lot of high end builds are running 2 larges, 4 mediums. I mean, and you're nesting in 4 uniques in there. You even mentioned timeless jewels. There's a long list of jewels that are extremely good. No shortage. The other
I'm disappointed. I'm kind of disappointed with one jewel rework with Fire Song. Like, it's just dead on arrival.
It's
unfortunately.
It is not all jewels are created equal in this.
Yeah.
The
rarity is the same, but it's just so useless. Unfortunately, it's just not good.
Good question. How many unique jewels have you guys found at this point? Because I only found 2.
I'm missing Witchbane only now, but I've done some heavy magic finding, as did Legi.
Yeah, we cheated a bit with Manni with some Wing Scarab magic finding, so we pretty much found them all. But before that, like before magic finding, I found I think 3 in like 2 characters to like level 90 something. So yeah, those are pretty rare. But
yeah, well, I had 2 Might of the Meeks drop, and that was it, just from generic like non-MF gaming.
Oh no!
Which was I farmed out the Garish Power Jewel or card. I guess I'll just show that for those who don't know what that is. But there's a div card for where is it? Garish Power. Just gives you a unique jewel. It was very common before, and obviously when the jewel rework happened, it became very much uncommon. And I did Overgrown Shrine, I guess. Which one is the linear one? Is that Ruin?
Shrine.
Okay, I did Overgrown Shrine. Wasn't too bad. It's not a terrible map to clear. It's like a little wonky in the beginning, and then it's basically linear. But yeah, it took hundreds. Like it took hundreds of maps to get a 4 set.
Yeah,
that was.
I heard some bad stories about it.
It's not great. It was. Also, I didn't find a single Soul Taker card on the way, just to show how rare that probably is now. This was
the Soul is like Doctors now, right?
Yeah.
9 cards for T0. Yeah, it's about as rare as Doctors.
Yep.
Soul Taker is now as rare as Mageblood and Headhunter for some reason. Who knows why?
We don't. Greater minds prevail in the lands of GG. It's fine. But my one Garish Power card did hit Unnatural Instinct, so that was
nice.
At least good.
Very nice.
It's I wouldn't recommend. I mean, unless you wanted something else. Some of these cards at this point, obviously, there's a lot of strategies that we've all done. Legi, especially this week, we'll talk about your Mage Blood farming. That, not that div card farming is bad, but like to go into it, you have to definitely have an appropriate setup, because just like Alk and Go div card farming feels really like kind of like a wash. You're just not gonna get great returns on these super rare cards.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there are strats to like do some low juice levels and still have decent returns, but indeed you have to have a plan, and especially in SSF have a like kind of long-term strategy to actually get those cards over time, because you're gonna be starved on resources at some point, right?
Yeah.
So just need to have a plan to acquire those things first.
Do you wanna talk about how you went about farming a Mage Blood?
Yeah, and so my plan, like going into the league, was just, to set up a decent character first of all, and like farm a lot of Deli Orbs to get my Scarabs, like switch them to Skitterings, and then just build a base of a lot of Gilded Scarabs that way, and then go into 2 weeks of Crimson Prison, as we like to call it. But I got pretty lucky, and my plan like went out the window instantly, because I think after 10 Mavens, I would say, 10 like elevated Sextants, so 10 Uber Mavens, I hit the Wing Scarab Sextant, which is 1 in like 300 something, right?
Yep.
So everything completely changed because of that. So I got thrown the bone, and I've been just doing the very popular strat in trade, which is Wandering Path Strongboxes, right? So you use 2 Strongbox Sextants, which are the 2 additional Strongboxes are free if it's elevated, and the Enraged Sextant, which is 500% quantity from a monster spawn from boxes, right? So you pair that up with the Gilded or Winged Ambush Scarab and like some other content, which is not really needed, but in SSF setting, you usually want to, be kind of wary of your other resource, right? So you cannot just burn through everything really fast like people in Trade League do. And yeah, I've sat in Crimson for a bit and farmed 4 cards, then dropped a natural Mage Blood, which was pretty nice.
Yep.
So that was fun, and finished the set later on. But really, for anyone that's going into that kind of farm and wants to have a Mage Blood quite fast without spending 2 months on like Alken Go or like Rasta Scarab strats, you really have to have a plan and like approach that you want to do this and do everything around that. And so, and I kind of need dedication for that.
For context, it's also just like 3,000, 4,000 maps on average to naturally or to farm at apothecaries with like a pretty normal setting, right? It's not. I mean, it's like.
I wouldn't say it's that bad. Like from people in trade that done the strat, like so with using this Scarabs ambush and like enrage boxes strat, the numbers we got from trade was around, I think, 1 apothecary per like 90 mobs with Gilded Scarabs. So that was it. So probably like 1 apothecary per like 300 mobs, like something like that, or like even 400. Yeah, so around the Mage Blood per like couple thousand mobs with like really, really low investment.
Yeah, that's if you just had the appropriate atlas and you're maybe.
It's always hard to like
yeah.
measure it in a number of maps because it heavily depends how well you roll them and what quant you have and all of that, right?
Yeah, so
as far as I know, it's around 600 gambler cards drop per apothecary, the last data I've seen. So if you shot all of your diff cards on your filter, you would have to loot around 600 gambler cards in Crimson Temples before you find apothecary on average, to give you an idea how rare it is.
But one thing that I really want to stress when looking for cards after the nerfs we got last patch, 8 mod maps are really important, and like just base quantity on maps. Don't really, invest into Delhi. Don't invest into like side things that much. 8 mod maps are the most important thing right now. Just high base quantity and revolving your strat around that, because that's what's gonna give you a lot of cards, I would say.
How were you?
So
Sorry, you go easy.
No, I just say, so you think like the 8 mob maps, with like high pack size, high quantity over like a nice rolled like 6 mod map with chiseled and stuff?
Obviously, I assume that you always chisel maps if you're looking for cards, but still.
I'm just saying, like, are you talking about like dropping like a natural? Oh, you're talking about like volleying your maps. Never mind. I'm just thinking like picking up 8 mob maps you drop. Never mind.
Yeah, I just wanted to compare like 6 mod map with, let's say, 100 quantity or like 95 quantity with like Deli Orb or something like that without volleying them. Those are so much worse than like 130 quantity map with Vault 8 mods. It's night and day. Like I've seen like such different results with running like both of those in comparison. So don't do mistakes that I did while farming my cards. Run 8 mats.
Yeah, it does. How are you sustaining Val Orbs? Did you have any plan for that? If you're valuing every single map you got?
I mean, usually if you play enough, you get enough, but I've run a decent amount of Baal temples, and you get a lot of. I think the card is called the Inventor, so you just put some
the 10
Divka
card.
Scarab there, and you're gonna get decent amount of Valorbs, or just run Sanctum. Sanctum is apparently pretty good for currency, I've heard.
That's all it does. Sanctum is a currency printing machine. Doesn't do a whole lot past that, but what it does do is shits out currency, especially sextants. That was my main plan for getting sextants, was just grinding, a Sanctum every 30, 40 minutes. And stack decks are pretty good.
Oh yeah,
it drops so much raw currency, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah.
So surprising to me that you go into Sanctum and you see those rolls of 16 Awakened Sextants. It's crazy.
I mean, I was picking the whatever that second option was, the six sextants. I was taking those over Divine Orbs, like, most of the time. At the end, it was like I was just so looking for sextants over everything else. Like, obviously divines are very good, but they, some of those high end currencies in SSF. Not that they don't retain value, but if you're not like actively crafting project things, I feel like it's, I like the option to be able to pick what you want more.
Yeah. It's a bit like Kalandra, right? Kalandra gave a lot of pure currency as well when you spammed it a lot.
Yeah, and there's also a bird boss at the end, You finally got a bird boss.
We're playing the better Kalandra League now, basically.
I really feel like that bird boss was supposed to be in Kalandra League and they just didn't finish it. Because what are the odds there's two winged bird ladies back to back? Like,
Good theory.
Tinfoil hat engaged. We touched on it earlier briefly, but I just wanted to circle back to it. You started in Ruthless, Manni. What was that experience like? And I guess just briefly for people that don't know what Ruthless is, it's an optional game mode that is like SSF. You could stack it with SSF, but it basically, long story short, you're rolling path back 10 years in progress. It's a magic path, but it's all, there's no drops, there's no movement skills. It's a barren wasteland of resources is the gist of it. So
yeah, you just don't find anything. Like, even like at the time I find 500 chaos, I would find like 1 chaos in Ruthless. It's you have to like actually play to appreciate how few drops you get. There's almost nothing.
Yeah.
You're picking up every single wisdom scroll, even in red map still, because everything is valuable. I was at some point I was even doing whetstone recipe, pick up 10 quality weapons so that I can get them up to 40 quality and then vendor them to get a single whetstone. That's how bad it is. You don't really get anything.
That's rock bottom.
That's crazy.
You fish for every scrap. And the game's much slower. You don't have movement skills. Your Quicksilver Flask only lasts 2 seconds. So it's very slow paced. The maps are, it feels kind of nostalgic almost, just very slowly cruising through maps. And it's very grindy. You're not just quickly finishing this or that. Your goals are like not hours, but your goals are over days and weeks. It's very slow.
Did you? I mean, you
interesting.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I hated it. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be in this grind for the next 3 days. Oh no, but I don't know. It's different from normal PoE, right? And I was kind of burned out from regular PoE, so I was kind of glad to experience a change of pace. I didn't regret starting it, and I'm probably gonna play it again.
Just to clarify, the Ruthless game mode is in its infancy. It it's not like it's fully done yet. This was the open beta technically, I think they said.
They thought the first league will basically be a beta and they might do mid-league changes, but I don't think there have been any changes to Ruthless. They must have been pretty busy.
Yeah.
I think Ruthless has been untouched pretty much since the release.
And what build did you play?
I played a Cold Dot Occultist to start with.
Yeah.
And there's very few choices for like viable starters, because you don't get support gems in that mode. That's one of the big differences too. You don't get any auras or support gems. You have to actually find them on the ground with very low drop rates. So you have to plan for like a league starter that only uses active skills without any support gems. And these dot skills like cold dot or fire dot, those kind of archetypes, they can use multiple dots, like different one-link skills like Wintertide Brand and Creeping Frost, Vortex. They can use them all together and stack them on the same boss. Like instead of having a 6-link, you just have a couple 1-links, and still get some solid DPS. It was actually good enough to play the game with.
What was your character called? In Solo Self-Found. You were Solo Self-Found Ruthless Sanctum, right?
Yeah. I don't remember how it was called.
Okay. Lost but not forgotten.
I eventually rerolled a Seismic Trap because I got some good drops for it. And yeah. I mean, eventually, Ruthless actually becomes kind of normal after a while, because especially when you play the softcore mode, because you don't ever lose anything, right? So once you have found each aura once and each support gem once, it's a lot closer to the normal game suddenly, right? And you can actually make relatively normal builds. It's just a really, really slow start, and it's like 100+ hours of just actually grinding the things that you would otherwise just buy from the vendor, basically.
Yeah. I did one character in Solo Self-Found Ruthless Hardcore. I made
in Alpha, right?
No. In this league, in Sanctum.
Okay.
I didn't touch a single Sanctum, but I did it. I made a Gladiator because I thought, I'll do whatever bleeds could be a thing, and I wanted to do Spectral Shield Throw because I thought I'd be able to find, even if I just had a blue shield that rolled like high armor. And I did the entire acts. When I got to maps, I was level 71, I think it was, and that made me rank 2 Gladiator in Solo Self-Found Hardcore. I didn't get a single support gem, full stop. I didn't get a single aura. And I just deleted the character after that. that was my experience.
The player base is very limited. Think of me and some other players. We had like 2 characters in the top 10 of the ladder at the same time after rerolling, because there's just not that many players that played a lot of Ruthless.
Yeah,
the game mode is not that popular for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Did Legi or EZ, you guys check it out at all?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a pass for me. I did start the league though in Trade League this league, which was a nice change of pace. Because obviously, I mean, like I'm sure we all did before SSF was introduced, we all played Trade League and stuff, and so I had some buddies and we just kind of no-lifed it. Just did some like early currency grinds and flipping, and then we bought a mirror day like 24 hours in at like 20 div, and then just sat on it for a couple days, sold it for like 60, just made nice builds and just,
Cashed out.
Yep.
Nice.
So it was nice. It was a nice change of pace, from like the SSF grind, and then so did like a week of trade, and then went back to SSF standard, and did some Uber boss farming because I prepared like a lot of Uber bosses. Kind of struck out there, and then started Sanctum like 2 weeks in. SSF Sanctum like 2 weeks in. So it's been fun. I mean, it's been like, definitely not like a normal league launch, but it's kind of all over the board. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, no Ruthless for me.
I don't blame you. It's I think it'll be fun to do some sort of like week-long event in Ruthless, but I can't imagine playing that game mode because it kind of is like parabolic, where if you play it enough, it kind of obfuscates its intention, which is its scarcity and all that item stuff kind of gets negated once you just have the things. And then it's like, well, the game itself isn't technically more difficult. Like Maven is as Maven as she is in normal. So once you have all the stuff.
The one thing that makes it a lot harder, actually, sorry to
You're good.
interrupt, but not having movement skills makes the bosses a lot harder, actually.
Sure. You would you not like so for the certain things like Maven memory game is probably trickier, if you can't use a movement skill, but most abilities you would just build to tank, right?
Yeah, either build a lot of movement speed, right? That would be one option. You could play like a trickster that can't be slowed and then stack movement speed on it, and you could dodge most of the slams and stuff that way. Or you could just go the full tank route. Yeah. My character had neither. When I killed the bosses,
Yeah.
I had a seismic trap, but it wasn't really that tanky, so I just ended up dying to every second slam or so because I couldn't walk out of it in time.
I
Yeah.
think it's kind of hard to build tanky enough character in Ruthless with like so scarce loot
Yeah, of
to
course.
tank those things. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I can second Mine's opinion. Like it's kind of hard to dodge those things, and obviously tanking is difficult. Yeah, as I'm saying.
Yeah.
I remember like watching, I think it was like Steel Mage. It was like whenever it was like still an alpha. I don't know if this ever took off, but I remember he was using like chain hook as like a semi movement skill. Was that ever a thing? Did you ever use that, Manny?
I didn't do that, no, but no, ambush, I think is another one that some people used. And I didn't bother using it, but it could be good, yeah. You kind of use your Quicksilver as a movement skill, right? Because the Quicksilver gives you 40% movement speed, only lasts 2 seconds in Ruthless. So it's kind of like clicking phase run. So if you had like multiple Quicksilvers, and whenever I needed to move out of a slam, I would press one.
Molten Shell still exists though?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. You don't have armor if you don't find determination, though. So
That's true. Yeah, it's definitely a different escape. I'm sure it'll
I think the like
change.
playing through the campaign would be interesting for a lot of people, I think. Like,
Yeah.
we saw that in Alpha. A lot of people like that, but once you get to maps, it becomes extremely grindy for a while.
Yeah, that's kind of why
Especially since,
I think a week would be like a good, or even like a 3-day event or something would be like probably the sweet spot where it's like, let's just start to, get through the campaign. That's the joy
It
right
actually-
there.
it becomes pretty fun again when you actually reached red maps, which is very hard to do and very grindy. But when you actually get there, you kind of sustain a lot better because you get these extra, the extra influence monsters and the extra guardians and conqueror drops and all of that occasionally.
Yeah.
And then it actually felt pretty like normal PoE.
Back
kind
to
of.
being a game again.
Yeah, it felt a lot better once I was actually in red maps. And then you get the good boss drops, those are pretty exciting. In
Oh,
Ruthless,
boy.
when your gear is so bad, almost all the boss uniques are insanely exciting. Huge upgrades.
Yep. Cool
Follower
beans.
sound.
So you briefly touched on what builds we're playing, but what builds did everyone start with this league, and what are you liking the most? Like, what are you currently into? Let's go. I guess we'll go with.
Yeah, how about you, man?
Go. Okay, you go. You anyone who?
You can go
Yeah,
like
what about, what about you, lady?
I don't even play this game anymore.
Yeah, I play RuneScape.
RuneScape.
No,
main.
I started with explosive arrow, and it's a perfectly acceptable starter build. Like, you'll have, I had like fear done whatever at the end of the first week, and that also set up all that stuff, yada yada. And then the build, totems are just at such a terrible spot feeling at the moment where they just don't survive high-end content at all. There's no like minions have that medium cluster. I was talking to Karn about this in whatever the fuck last podcast I was on, and it's like minions have that thing where they can't die for 4 seconds, and totems don't. So, like any sort of high-end content, your totems just get insta-railed pretty much. So any of those, like when I was trying to push actual harder stuff or even doing uber bosses, it's like the totems just die instantly. So I pretty much swapped off of that. The damage is fine, but like just feels a little rough because they don't have any real survivability.
I imagine if we have like a ton of degen in your Uber Elder or like Exile, you just place them and instantly
they're gone
melt, right?
in half a second. Yeah, it's really really bad. Like they do good damage. It's just really really bad. I mean, all they need is something like that. Even if it just said your totems, are immune to damage for 2 seconds, like that would be enough to make it totem builds kind of viable again for like high end content. But either way, I swapped to EK Ignite afterwards because I wanted to farm Breach, and that build has explosions and chain and all that fun stuff. So has like negative single target, but the clear is super enjoyable. And we don't have Ring of Blades anymore, and there's the Helm enchant for Nova EK, but I didn't really feel it was necessary at all. To be honest, I would just use the normal fan, like the vector in front of
really?
you. It didn't really feel like a problem because you're using Gloomfang and you have stacked explosions, so I just right click and the whole screen kind of blew up anyway.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I can imagine if you weren't playing a build that had chains and explosions, but at that point, kind of why are you playing like EK to a degree, I guess. That felt fine. So I farmed out like I think it was 50 or 60 jewels like in that week, trying to look for like good skin the lords, and then I transitioned to I talked about playing the Poison SRS in the first map of the day. I said that a Covenant dropped, so I was like, okay. So I started playing Poison SRS, and that build is like, it's like a real B+ build. It's like perfectly acceptable at doing all content. Its clear is like pretty okay. Its single target is pretty okay. It's just like defenses are pretty okay. I feel like it's not really, doesn't really excel at any one point tremendously. But I did all the Uber bosses within like the first couple days of playing it. None of them felt amazing. I mean, it's a dot build, so you've capped damage for Uber bosses to a degree, but it feels comfy because your SRS is doing all the things. But I really found a lot because you have Spectres and Animate Guardian. Like, they got me killed a lot of the times, to be honest. And things like the Uber Maven, for example, when she shoots out the fireballs, the big wave of those. I mean, their AoE is actually massive when they explode. And so many times, one of them would clip an Animate Guardian, and I would just die. And I'd be like, you piece of shit. Like, I really regretted doing them. But, like, Uber Cirrus was also okay. It's kind of fun because that fight is just like, Uber Cirrus isn't a bad fight if you survive, but the second you die once, like getting back into it and acclimating is like the worst experience Path has ever generated. But SRS is like heat-seeking missiles off the map, so it was actually nice to see where he was, and end up having to cull him with a one-link SRS setup at the very end. So like things like that are fun. But it's also, because you're a poison build, mapping is like, if you roll that poison modifier, since you have all the map modifier nodes, is like 96% to avoid being poisoned. It's basically like a silver bullet, so it's kind of annoying to play a build that's susceptible to that, like can't Alcon go as comfortably.
Yeah. I feel that.
And then never finding an Aegis Aurora means my defenses were like never really there. But yeah, I'm currently on that build. I'm grinding Sanctums, like map rushing Sanctums, like one every 30 to 35 minutes. And it's great for Sanctum because again, it like, it travels up all terrain. It's heat seeking, but it's a very, very comfy build. I think if you're in Trade League and you haven't played the build, I'd probably recommend it because I feel like it's one of those builds where I don't think it's tremendous, but I could easily see them nerfing it because it's just popular. They like to do that sometimes. So I do feel like to a degree, if you don't play it now, it might not be as good as it is next league. And if you're looking to do Sanctum, it is one of the more comfy Sanctum builds that probably exists. So I'm just literally farming out the staff, and once I get the staff, I'm swapping to that Spark build the second I get it. But that's pretty much what I've been doing in Sanctum.
Oh, the build you showed earlier,
I have farmed out everything for that build except for the staff. I've got all my alt quality gems. I've got all my stuff, my enchants, everything. Just waiting for the staff.
I think Manni is the only person that has the staff between all of us.
Yeah, I'm at
the usual.
I'm at 89.
It was like one of my
now.
2 runs that I did off stream.
Oh, there you go. I'm not sure what your guys' Sanctum counts at, but it's mentally taxing to keep doing rushing Sanctums.
Mine's like around 90 or like 100, I would say. But for me, it's still fun. I've skipped a lot of Sanctum at the start of the league. So I started as Seismic Sabo, but I didn't really focus on league mechanic. I just, I had the approach of I'll focus on farming Mage Blood as soon as I can, like getting my characters ready. So Sanctum was on like a second plan, like bug burner.
Yeah,
I'll just do it when I have the like really good character because it's gonna be like more efficient that way. So I started as Sabo. In hindsight, it's a great starter, but I would have started something else. I would have started my second character, which was Poison Occultist. I played Poison's Concoction for around a week or so, like not more than a week actually, like boss rushing for Omni, which I got, the usual RNG for me, like 200 plus. That's how it goes in those places. So it's not great.
Classic.
Just classic. So after that, I rolled a Deadeye Venom Jar because last league I played that build and it was super fun. And I was thinking, Nightblade nerf, not gonna be that bad, right? And it felt so bad. It felt actually so trash. I cannot stress this enough how bad it felt. Like the inconsistent damage with Secrets of Suffering, crit inconsistency, and then Nightblade going to 20% elusive when you actually want to do damage. I didn't like the build at all. Even though I farmed, I think, 2 or 3 apothecaries on it, which was okay with a lot of MF gear, so you could run those difficult maps on it. But it felt really bad, so I didn't like it at all.
Big sad.
Yeah. And now I'm playing those endgame builds. I rerolled my Occultist to Poison Spark. It's a great build for mapping. Questionable for bossing, but that's how it goes with the downside of this build. And I have my Tornado Shot with actually crazy gear. I never had that gear character in SSF.
Yeah,
That
your gear looks
early, to
pretty
be honest.
Yep.
It's close to perfect. Just
Oh,
get that helm enchanted.
Yeah, yeah, obviously, and that's the thing I'm working on right now. I just don't have a helm enchant, but it's great build. I mean, Omni Shot. What else do you want?
Comfy build for sure.
I actually I started Venom Gyre in trade, but I didn't have anything to compare it to from last league. I didn't play it, so I personally thought it was okay. But I'm sure based off your comments that it was probably just crack last league. But I enjoyed it. I didn't really do much Sanctum, I guess, kind of at the start when I was playing trade, because I also didn't want to drop the staff and then be like, oh man, I dropped it in trade, then I can't drop it in SSF or something crazy. So I didn't wind up doing a lot of Sanctum in trade, but I also started that that EA Totems build when I did get to Sanctum. It felt fine. It was pretty good, but obviously it has some constraints with stuff like Breach, Legion, unless you get a Prolif or something. But and then I rolled a really jank TS. I luckily got Omni on my 20th or so, Exarch, which kind of just fixed the build, and then I was able to farm all that content to get, other build, not build enabling, but content specific uniques like Timeless Jewels and Skin of the Lore cards, and did a little bit of low investment magic finding on it, and just realized that I missed a couple fractures on bows, and it just kind of turned me off to really taking it all the way to be my no-hit Sanctum runner. And then just saw people with really good luck with Stormbrand, and I've been on Stormbrand for the last couple weeks, and I just hit my +1/+1 amulet and a really nice wand, and yeah, I know we spoke on it briefly, Lighty. I think at the beginning of this podcast, or maybe it was during this podcast already. I already forgot, but I got to, like I said, yeah, that 5th room in the last floor. So I'm pretty sure I can do it with this build. Just gotta keep pushing it. But yeah, Stormbrand, it brings you back to either Harvest League or Manny. When was the league that you did all the Stormbrand? Because I think I pretty much yoinked your build that league. Whenever we were doing all the deep delving, was it Harvest
every
or the
league
league?
pretty much? I dealt in Harvest and Ritual with Stormbrand, and then in Heist I played it as a normal character.
Yeah, I think it was Ritual when we did the deep delving, like right after Harvest, and so that's the last time I played it, and it's felt really good right now.
Using Heat Shiver with the call, you're using I have your profile up right now. You have Call the Brotherhoods to convert the lightning to cold, and then you have Heat Shiver to trigger all the extra fun damage. Heat Shiver is being used on so many high DPS builds now, especially ones that are just blowing up bosses. Have you been liking the helmet?
Yeah, it's great. One of my buddies, we were just on a call one day and was like, but have you used Heat Shiver? And I was like, no. And yeah, I looked at it, it's like, wow, that is kind of broken. And it's really good way to cheese early DPS too, right? Because when I was doing my tornado shot before I had Omni and any real gear, I was just using Heat Shiver and just doing a Fizzbow conversion, because I found a really nice Fizzbow, and somewhere it wasn't it was on a thicket base, but it was like 700 PDPS, and I mean that was a 700 PDPS thicket bow, and Heat Shiver was able to carry until I found Omni, and then it really carried, right? So I feel
Yeah.
like it's kind of cheat codes right now. It's really nice.
Nice.
I mean, the helmet is so overused and so extremely common. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf it in rarity next league, make it like tier 2 or something.
Or just make
I
that
agree.
That would be the
100
classic.
50 for the damage. It'd be better. I mean, I prefer if they make things rare to keep their power.
Yeah, they've been doing that a lot recently. I feel like that would be the more likely thing to happen. One thing, since you guys both played EA totems, right?
Yep.
Have you guys tried to farm this unique jewel that gives totem life? Because I heard some really bad stories about it.
Totem. Oh, you mean Rain of Splinters?
Rain of Splint. Oh, it's
Yeah.
extra projectiles, right? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Spire Stone was deleted from the game, unfortunately. I wish it was end because that actually would be really useful. That gave Totem stun immunity, which is really annoying. But
The
yeah,
Rain of Splinters is a corruption only jewel, right? And it's supposedly
Correct.
like stupid rare, like 1,000 Varlobs or something.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to over exaggerate, but I've been trying it all league, and I'm close to probably 1,000 attempts on it, and every single Crimson Jewel convert back into 5-1.
Yep, same.
I'm definitely probably close to 1,000. I haven't hit it yet because I still use that for like some bosses and stuff too, but it's bad.
I had mine day 2. So I got mine.
Okay.
But I probably did like 200-300 crimsons. It was like it definitely wasn't noticeable because I was saving up. I was valuing every jewel because I was just curious what the rates are, and that jewel is incredibly rare, and the new 2 dust off of Cobalt is incredibly rare, seemingly compared to the other ones. So
Really?
I had the biggest discrepancies with those. I had my stash. I had like rows of each other jewel. Then it was just like 2 dust was like an empty row, and Rain of Splinters basically.
Because I remember trying out the, that's a strategy where you spam a couple exiles in your map, and then you run the sections where all exiles drop jewels, and then all unique monsters drop corrupted items.
Yep.
I did that for like 4 maps, and I found like a 2 dust in every map. I was wondering, why is this thing so common?
There you go. Yeah, maybe it's just at first I thought it was like because they didn't say if there was eye level restrictions initially, so I was actually curious if there was eye level restrictions potentially or whatever. But they're definitely like pretty rare. The rare ones are rare. Like like Rain of Splinters seems measurably more rare than the other ones.
Yeah.
Which I understand why. I guess it's just free projectiles effectively for the builds, but.
I guess I wanted to make it a bit of a chase item, but why didn't they move it into the pool of global uniques then?
I don't know. I don't know what the answers for you, sir.
Wait, actually, didn't they say they wanted the global uniques to be relatively universal?
Yes.
And not specific to like an archetype like totems? I guess that's why,
Yeah.
right? But then there's the Lionite jewel though, which is a bow jewel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also argue the Scion one is specific to a class. I mean, in a way.
Pure talent, you mean?
I guess in a way, yeah. Just because you've multiple. I mean, I'm not sure. Have you ever used pure
I mean, that one
talent?
is generic enough, I'd say.
Have you used pure
To
talent on
count.
a non-Scion build?
Doesn't it give base crit on Shadow? I think I've used it there.
Yeah, it's like
0.5?
7% movement speed too. I use it on my heister.
Oh God, that's real degen.
Yeah, it's really it's very specific. Very...
Oh boy. There you go. So you've been doing the Stormbrand build. This is like the thing you're going to be doing pretty much for no-hit runs, and then TS for mapping is the general play?
Well, that was the original thought, but now I'm just full Stormbrand everything, right? Because it's like, well, I really don't, but I also do need to still practice the Sanctum, so I need to do all my mapping on Stormbrand. But my kind of plan though is, my plan would still be find the staff, do the no-hit run, and then probably go back to standard to just because I have like, I don't know, I like playing there because I already have like a fully juiced out MF guy, right? So
For
like
sure,
I'm gonna do my Calandra's touch grind in standard.
I definitely feel like once I get the staff, well, if I get the staff, it's very possible I'll just not get it this league. I mean, if it's a 1% drop rate, 32 maps per Sanctum, just some numerical numbers for all the kids out there. 32 maps to get 1 Sanctum. It's roughly a 1% drop rate. That means 3,200 maps on average to get the staff. If you go 2 to 3 times dry, even, which is not crazy. I mean, we've all done things that like, or even Legi's done yet again an Omni grind that's taken him 4 to 5 over drop rate. if that happens, you're looking at 10,000 maps to get a staff, possibly. I mean, that could very well be the entirety of my league, is just doing this. And if I don't get it, I'd be very sad. But if I do get it, I'm never touching a Sanctum again, for sure. That's pretty much the play for me.
I thought the same thing, and then I got the staff, and I'm still doing Sanctum because it's just actually fun to me.
If I get,
Like, I don't
so
want
if
to do
get
it non-stop.
tomorrow,
I would get very
maybe,
bored if I did
but
it
like,
non-stop. Yeah.
if with it, it depends on the amount of time. Like if it's like the next Sanctum, or if I'm a little over 100. But if I'm like 300 Sanctums and I don't have the staff, and I get the staff, I'm
Yeah.
not touching Sanctum again.
I can imagine.
Which
do you
It's
guys
also
feel
vibing
about-
Sanctum, to be honest. Sanctum is just fun for me. Same as Manni.
my biggest complaint with Sanctum is not even there's like solo self-found complaints that I have, which is I don't like a mechanic that only drops currency for the most part, which feels a little weird because
Yeah.
like the relics aren't going core. The fact we knew that going into it kind of took a little bit of the wind out of my sails, because it's like, not that I don't care about making my characters in League as good as they can be, but my investment in looking for good relics is immediately diminished when I know they're going to be deleted. You know, it's like I don't care as much because I play the game for long term. So it only gives currency, which is totally fine. It's great at giving currency. It's very profitable for that. But it's just like there's no flash or flare to it. Like obviously you could hit a mirror, which can happen if you're paying attention that you check all your rooms, but it's like there's no like big jackpot scenario, you know? Like at the end of a Sanctum, I'm just gonna get the currency I'm gonna get. It's as fast as I do it, is as fast as I get it. There's nothing like amazing can happen. Nothing drops in Sanctum. So there's no like that element, which is the most fun element for Path for me, is kind of removed from that. And then it comes to the actual difficulty of Sanctum. Like day one of doing Sanctum, or even like we'll say week one, when your build is kind of shit and you don't know how to do it, Sanctum was challenging. But once your build is good, and especially once you have relics like the Inspiration per Affliction ones, it is like impossible to fail a Sanctum now for me.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
kind
I
of
could
brain dead
close
at some
my
point,
eyes
right?
and I won't be able to fail. I have 4 of those relics. Like it's a joke. So there's like a huge gap in the difficulty scaling of Sanctum. So we don't know, I don't think strictly if the mechanic will be represented in the core game in some way, but if it is, I'm not sure how they're gonna have to manage it. Because if it's just the same situation, like if it's like, oh, it's really hard day one, it's like, oh, and now it's like a piss walk. It's like it's so easy now. Like that part I don't like about it, but I definitely, I mean, it's definitely profitable at the like you. That's, you know, you can't argue with that. It's you get a ton of currency from doing Sanctum.
Yeah.
What's your guys' take on Sanctum being, introduced to a core? Do you think it's going to be introduced, or do you think it's just going to be cut? Because obviously they didn't.
I really don't know.
They didn't really specify if it's staying or not. We know the relics are going, but the
Yeah.
mechanic itself.
I think since PoE2 is kind of on the horizon, they and the last couple leagues have not been made core. I'm guessing it won't go core, personally.
Yeah,
Or maybe they're gonna do some big rework. You remember Betray League when they completely kicked out the masters and put in the new masters?
yep.
Maybe that's gonna happen again soon. And we're getting Ultimatum Master and Calandros
Followers
Master and Sanctum Master and whatever, and Sentinel. The recent leaks, they might come back in that way.
I used to have a pretty good radar for gauging decision making, and I think that's gone out the window totally in the past like year or two. I have like some of the choices that are made, not that they're good or bad, but I just have like they come out totally left field for me. So if they could delete lab and make Sanctum the new lab, and I would be like, yeah, okay, that happened now. Like I don't think they're gonna make a substantial wave unless it's something that is with intention towards Path 2, I guess is the thing. Like, if they want a system like Sanctum to be represented in Path 2, for example, replacing the Labyrinth in some way, then we'll maybe get that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, aside from that, no, they could delete it, they could not delete it. It's kind of just all waiting on Path 2 either way, as far as what's going to be solidified.
One thing I do think is kind of interesting, like whether I get it or not, like I do like this idea of this original sin being like a somewhat exclusive, unique in the fact that you had to do it during this league, and you had to either make a very specialized character or like do these very, complex tasks to be able to get it. And then maybe it does get wiped from the game. But it's also like, I feel like it's kind of well received. So like, I feel like they wouldn't get rid of it. But I do kind of like this idea of a unique maybe going and coming and going like that. But I don't know.
I agree that the kind of trophy uniques are cool, and I don't think like it's obviously a very strong ring, but I'm still, and this is like a bit of a contentious topic, but I still think it's not like the most insane item for its effort because its scope is like it's a ring that gives you a lot more damage on the builds that it works on. But to me, that like kind of doesn't matter too much because you have like infinite damage on most builds to a degree. Like things like Nimbus are a lot more.
Yeah, it's a bit of a win more thing.
Yeah, like Nimbus is a lot more enticing to me. Like something like that because it totally changes the clear pattern of a build and like really revitalizes like how the feelings work and how it interacts with Sniper's Mark and just things like that. So like if they were to do more rings like that, more things like this, I'd love to see it. The only complaint I really have about Original Sin is its rate of access is like super gated. So like say if I was hypothetically if I was a very good player at this game, right? And I could actually attempt and clear this. It's very likely that if I played an hour or two a night, did hundreds of Sanctums, I could just never find an attempt, even if I was a good player. So I feel like
same for every rare unique though, right? Same
right.
for like Nimbus or Calandro's Touch.
Yeah, but the difference is you can't buy attempts at this. So the way that they circumvent access of entry in Trade League is by you could purchase the attempts. You can't purchase Original Sin attempts. So it's like there's a trophy that is given out to skilled players, but I'm not even allowed to like afford an entry if I didn't just find one. So I feel like if they were to do something like this again, I would like them to, if there's a way of increasing difficulty substantially or challenge substantially, if there was better access of entry, I think I'd be more on board with it.
So it's not about the ring; it's about actually experiencing the run.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point. I mean, you get the ring as the trophy, but the run is the challenge, right? But if you're a extremely proficient player, you just may not have
you might not
found
even ever get that run. Yeah.
Then you've just been robbed of that opportunity, despite you being good enough to even attempt it, which I think is the unfortunate part. That's kind of why I like the opted difficulty of all the unique relics, but I wish they were like almost toggleable settings in a way, where it's like you could toggle on, like kind of like how they do the gauntlet, where it's like, oh, GMP, whatever, turbo. If you could just toggle on all the settings and like that's the Original Sin run, then everyone could do it. The counter argument is, oh, then you have infinite attempts, therefore you'll be able to do it.
The ring is 1C. Yeah.
But I don't know. I still feel like it doesn't make having infinite attempts doesn't make the challenge less impressive. Like real world example, anyone can go climb Mount Everest, but does that mean you still do it because you can practice all day long? No, it's still incredibly challenging. Like, just because you have access of entry doesn't mean you have the ability to clear it. I don't think it really diminishes the achievement. So that's what I would like to see if they would do it.
No, I think that hit run would be very easy if you had infinite attempts. Like, because then you only need a success rate of more than 0, right?
Yeah, but you have infinite time and skill. That's the difference. Is we're comparing what is the upper end echelon of human capability to the average experience, which is obviously you can clear it because there very well might not be a challenge good enough to stop you, is what I'm saying. But like this challenge is very difficult for most everybody. So completing it would be.
It's a lot more difficult now because you only have a handful of attempts, or maybe even a single one. Right, so you need like a very high success rate or luck.
Well, I guess this comes back to
if you had infinite tries,
you could just fish for good rooms.
Yeah,
you could.
You could just keep trying until you get the perfect boons and everything, right?
So then, what would be another way to fix it? Have it so like after every 20 Sanctums, a guaranteed attempt drops or something. Like there may be some sort of mercy system. So because otherwise, if you did 300 Sanctums and never saw one, that'd be like the biggest L.
I mean, that's classic PoE, right? Randomness versus deterministic drops.
But this is the only time where you can't circumvent it by trading.
Well, you can't buy the ring. It's just about the access.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can't buy the challenge.
Okay, sure. Yeah, okay.
That's the part. I guess you could just make.
I mean, you can always simulate it, right? You could just pretend it's a no-hit run if you really want to do one.
Yeah.
And everything's
pat yourself on the back when you complete it. Make yourself a birthday cake.
Yeah, and everything's account bound in SSF, right?
It's true. This is the first time we've had account bound in trade, though.
Yep.
which has
Wonder
been
how well it's received. I don't think people have really been complaining about it, but I don't know if they
I've heard
like it.
like a real mixed bag, basically. You know.
Yeah, same here. Really mixed opinions. Some people are really happy, and some people, not so much.
I think the people that see the relics as a bonus, they're totally fine with it. But there's gonna be some, the other crowd that feel like if I'm playing a power charge stack and I don't have a +1 power charge relic, my build is shit, right? And they probably hate the fact that you can't trade them, and they feel like they need them, right? There's definitely that crowd too.
Yeah, the fact that they made the invocations tradable though, that was a bit strange.
That is odd, yeah.
Yeah, on top of it, because it's like that power level is super high. Because now you're playing a build that maybe you can use Pain Attunement, but you're nowhere near the northeast of the tree. It's like that's a huge chunk of damage you've just gained for.
Those are honestly more build enabling than the relics themselves.
Oh, for sure.
In some cases.
Yeah, I agree.
And the whole point of making it a compound was that people find build enabling stuff and actually use it and not sell it, right?
Yeah.
But then the invocation is like,
Yeah, there's a little bit of,
a
little bit of mixed identity with I think how a lot of the stuff was implemented. I mean, for me, I think this league I mean, I don't particularly enjoy the mechanic, but like stepping away from my own thing, I think it's probably the best league we've had as far as a mechanic in a pretty long time.
Yeah, and they nailed it on launch pretty much, right? There weren't any like big reworks to it.
Yeah, I'd say the nerfs or changes they made were pretty negligible. I mean, they felt it. Like Infernum changing its layout was obviously they felt that was you feel that, but it's not a big deal. Like things like that.
Yeah,
I kind of agree. I think they struck a good balance with the rewards and just league mechanic being just enjoyable to run for majority of people. I would say obviously there's outliers as always they are, but like especially with like the account bound discussion we had, I feel they actually nailed it. That it feels good when you actually find the build an enabler relic if you don't have infinite hours supply and you can build around it.
I don't think there is a relic. This is like a real old man thing I'm going to say, but I don't think there's a relic good enough that could drop that's going to make me reroll if I wasn't already planning on playing a build that was going to use it.
That's the mindset thing, right? Some people would reroll for literally anything, and some people
100%.
just have very struck plan. Like I'm not the kind of guy that rerolls for stuff either. Usually, I just have my plans for builds and then go for those.
Like I found
force them.
I found a +2 strike one, and I have a +1 frenzy charge one. They're separate ones, but like that's like such a small piece of the puzzle to making like a full build that would utilize this thing versus just kind of shoehorning it into a build I'm already playing.
Yeah, but if you had to choose like another build and you had frenzy stacking on your list of like possible builds already, you would totally choose that now, right?
Yes, yeah. 100. Unless I saw the word, get a crystallized omniscience. So I'm like, all right, fuck that. Those amulets really have, I mean, to a degree, been, I don't want to say like they're a bane of SSF, but it's like such an annoying speed bump that can or cannot be a terrible experience like every time now.
They're just so damn OP and dominant.
They're so good. Both of them are so good. Like, and if you don't get close to drop rate on them, it's like such a kick in the nuts every time. So it just feels like you're just waiting. You're like
in a way, I would welcome an Ashes nerf just so that heisting will be less mandatory either, because then the alt qualities will be a lot weaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding alt quality gems isn't a whole lot better feeling, to be fair. When I was trying to get my alt quality, it's really just alt quality support gems are like brutal to find the rare ones, because it's, for those who don't know, the active skills not only show up so much more, but prime regrading lenses show up significantly more than secondaries, which is rough. And some of those are like really shit odds.
What do you guys feel about the whole accessibility of Sanctum? Because I kind of hate that you can't run like a build that collects it and then play them on a different build.
This is a universal feeling, I think.
But we had that in other leagues, right? It goes all the way back to like Delph League or something. That's always been
just coming off of like the change to Incursion, the fact that they let us itemize that, and we just had Calandra and we can itemize that. It's like it feels so shit that we can't stack up 32, itemize it, and then like bank it. I don't know if it was just like a technical limitation, but the precedent was obviously set. We had it in Calandra, Incursion. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, I don't understand. I can't even begin to fathom the thought process
It
behind
doesn't even have to be itemized. They could literally just increase the room counter that you can save from 8 to 800, and then
Yeah,
Oh,
literally.
sure.
I just map for a day
Yeah.
and then I Sanctum for like a day,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing with like not ultimatum, sorry, Arch Nemesis. Like it was, just increase the number by a bit, and everything is
the
fine.
stupid storage.
So it's the same thing. Like if we had the 32 room Sanctum, it wouldn't feel bad to run on like one character. Like we don't need itemization, as you guys saying. It just, I don't know. It's just weird.
I'm just gonna assume it's a technical limitation. I can't imagine there's another.
Nah, it's definitely a choice they made.
I wonder why the choice. I mean, I guess they didn't want you just to spend all day in Sanctum.
I feel like they're probably scared that we min-max the fun out of the game, that we would all make our Sanctum
that's an uphill
speedrunners,
battle,
they just
my
face
friend.
run through maps.
Anytime they're trying to cage the player into not doing something, it's like a spiteful child.
It
What's the
helps
first thing
some,
you want
but
to do?
it hurts some,
Yeah. No, I mean, if they even said in a press post, we don't want you min-maxing Sanctum, my first thought is, all right, how the fuck am I going to min-max Sanctum? I mean, we have min-max. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sanctum is a piece of content that takes 32 maps to run that does not scale with anything but how fast you could run it. Right? There's no quantity doesn't matter. There's no way to toggle the difficulty aside from unique relics to make it so it's more rewarding. So all that can be scaled is how fast can I walk in a map, click a Sanctum, and leave the map, which is currently what I'm doing, but it feels like the most unhealthy thing in Path of Exile. Because I feel like I'm not playing the game most of the time, Like that part of that min-maxing of it is just feels...
I'm just saying, if you could save infinite rooms, that would be even more extreme.
If I could say
then
infinite
you would
rooms,
just chain hundreds of maps.
Yeah. To be fair, I probably wouldn't, I wonder if there would be a shift in like mentality. I might not even rush them if I could save infinite rooms. Because it might be like a perception.
I think I would rush them even more.
You think
I would
you
make
would?
a 500 movement speed build and just run to the thing.
Well, I think it depends if there was like a visible cap. Like if they said, oh, you could have 1,000 Sanctums. Because then you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to stack up 1,000 Sanctums.
Challenge accepted,
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels, I guess, to a degree. To be fair, like, the same way, like, a bit when I'm stockpiling Heist Unveils, it's like 255 is the cap for Wakano. So to a degree, it's like, all right, maybe if I know I'm gonna run like 200 Grand Heists, maybe I'll stack up like 150 Unveils. But then I'm like, oh, I'm really pretty close to 255. Maybe I'll just go to 255. So even if there was a cap, there would be a change in how you artificially approach it. It's
just more than 8.
Yeah,
please.
well, 8's brutal. I mean, it may be a non-issue if they just never.
It's just a mentality thing to like. It can be nice to like being forced to mix out the content, some mapping, some Sanctum, but for like super min-maxing and degenerate gameplay like we like to do, I would prefer to just map hundreds of maps and then switch my brain to Sanctum mode for a couple of hours at a time and not just 5 minutes at a time.
I think that's also this is also represented a lot of places in Path, but it's a bit of a unhealthy relationship is formed by the player because you feel if I do 8 maps and I save up 8 Sanctums, I now am not allowed to map anymore because I'm now wasting Sanctums to a degree.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of how
like,
it feels
they can force us to do
that
it.
stuff. It's kind of the same thing as for Delve, where it's like if I'm at Cap Sulfite, I have to Delve now. But I don't.
We had the same discussion in Delve League, exactly the same one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem where it's like this forced obligation to engage with content because we feel as if we're wasting something by not having it. Kind of, it's interesting because you could extend the argument to say, oh well, when you're map brushing and not killing bosses, aren't you doing the same thing? I don't feel that way though for some reason, which I feel like I probably should feel that way, but
I think it's just the numbers game and like the balance of all of it, right? Like if the numbers are set up correctly, I think it's kind of hard to compare those things. Like for example, we are saying about the number 8 rooms only stored in Sanctum, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it wouldn't produce degenerate gameplay if we had like 50 to store. So we can as Manni said, go into Sanctum mode for a bit and have fun. And now we are just getting pull apart. We have to do this, we have to do that. I mean, it's been always a complaint from PO players. So just let us store things when we and run them when we want to run them, right? It was the same problem with like master missions, I
Yeah.
don't know, heists, everything really.
Master Mission's a good example because that stacks to thousands now. You can have as many as you want, and I don't ever feel an obligation to run bestiary. It's like, no, okay, I'm done with what I was doing, and now let me go do a couple hundred bestiary maps. I have that accessibility. I mean, it definitely, they've been leading towards the concept of player customizability towards your experience. Obviously, with the Atlas Passage is the biggest example of this. So this would be in line with what they're describing and what they've described previously. This also kind of feels like where it's I can't think of a gameplay reason or a thematic reason why this wouldn't work. So I just assume it's a technical limitation, especially going into Path 2.
Yeah. Highly probable, I would
Somehow
say.
they couldn't stack more than 8, or some deep spaghetti got crangled or something.
I mean, 8 rooms sounds fine when you balance it around like a league starter kind of build, and average player speed, I guess, because that's easily like an hour, right? 8 maps.
Mm-hmm.
But for degenerate 2-month into the league players like us, it's
10
like
second
5
minutes,
minutes.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another part of it is this league. This has happened. This is a bit of a unprovable thing, I would say. What I'm about to say is we don't know. So they released the unique relics a week or two into league, right? It wasn't on launch. Whether that was intentional or not, I don't know if we'll ever truly know, because I think it's a good idea still, because it allows people to get to a point in the league where they understand the base of Sanctum, and it's like, okay, now you understand the base. Let's introduce this challenge aspect.
Yeah, I
think it's a good idea, but I still don't know if it was intentional or not. Like, if it was something they could do or couldn't do, and then they just had to release them a week later. It kind of happened in Heist League, because they didn't have access to all the unique heists initially. They introduced one of them later. And
we had none of them at launch, and they slowly added like 2 per week or something, and even scrapped one. They announced there would be 2 more, and then only one of them came.
I forget what it was called.
It was definitely running out of time issue, right? There was Heist League was a huge crunch.
So I'm not sure if this was also the same thing, but it was just better hidden, or it was intended. But I do think the concept of trickling in better version of the league as it progresses is a good idea. Like, it's just a really difficult thing to balance, because it kind of breeds the mentality, well, why would I play the league on launch, or even like the first month, if I know month 2 will be better, in a way. So, like, if they progress the league to the point, like this league, if you didn't play on launch and you weren't in trade to maybe take economic advantage of it, aside from the hype of playing on launch, it probably would have been better to wait a week or two, because the game in Sanctum was in a better state. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Many people think that way, right? They're not thinking about when to league start for the maximum profit or whatever. They're just playing the game for fun.
Yeah, definitely possible. We touched on this. I know Easy mentioned it earlier. I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit, Easy, but and we will all talk about, because it's something we all do a lot of, is Uber bosses. This league, they've added new uniques to Uber bosses. Not all of, I think all of them got ununique, but one of them is still missing. There's some of them are still missing uniques. I know, like, Eater's missing.
No, all 7 have one now.
Well, yeah, so Eater's missing a small
It's just
unique.
that they were all supposed to come last league already, but only Uber Elder made it last league, and now they all came delayed, basically.
Well, Exarch got a boot, and then a second boot, and Eater got a ring, so it's missing. It should be missing one unique still.
Oh, no, that was by design, I think. The bossing content,
really?
like the race 2 or 3 leagues ago, that's where these the Dawn's boots come from, right?
So there's just going to be one has 7, one has 6, I guess.
Yeah, there was just a prize for either Exarch or Elder. Sorry, Exarch or Eater unique, and whoever made it chose Exarch.
Cool beans. So of the Uber uniques,
it's odd, right?
Yeah,
now.
it's a bit weird. I saw that. I was like,
now.
all right, that's fine, but also means I'm done with Eater forever. So they added a bunch of Uber uniques. More. Yeah, hopefully, we'll see down the road. Hopefully, they just add more bosses. They have more uniques to the same bosses. There's a bunch of Uber uniques. Some of them are good, and some of them are Echo Forge, and there's a lot of them. We've all been farming Uber bosses. The Uber bosses themselves, not all of them have been nerfed. Maven got nerfed by access of entry, because of the height of hubris was removed. I guess I should backtrack slightly here, because this is a bit. Also, this is again everything I'm about to say might be a non-issue literally next league. You know, this is just the ebb and flow of Path of Exile. I don't think this is going to launch now. Cool beans. Am I in Path? I am in Path. So they had the height of hubris was a keystone that said 100% increased effect of invitations, right? And it also scaled up the quantity.
Yeah.
That's now gone, which is a bit of a bummer, because that means we effectively get half as many Maven writs. So that really only affected Maven. A lot of the other keystones that existed for bosses were like crunched into their regular versions. Example of one.
Supposedly.
Well,
Yeah,
so that's where we're getting. So there's a bunch of these bosses were basically nerfed. So in a variety of ways and shapes and forms. Some of the more notable ones are synth maps no longer drop synthesis bases, which is, I assume, you know, a glitch in the matrix at this point, because it was such a strange decision. But other things like Eater Exarch, I don't think were metrically changed too much. I've heard the numbers are slightly different on things like Flesh and Flames, but that's up
I think
for...
that was already nerfed last league.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I think
Very
the
well
Flash
could have
and
been.
Flame were already nerfed last league.
The Awakened Gem drop rate is substantially lower off of Maven. And then Cirrus, as an example, I don't want to say it's pointless to run regular Cirrus, but it's pointless to run regular Cirrus. Basically, you're not going to do Uber.
Yeah. Uber Cirrus is loaded with loot, to be honest.
Yes. Uber Cirrus is 20% chance to Awaken Gem, drop a Awaken Gem, I believe is the highest in the game currently, compared to Maven.
No, Maven still has like more than 20. It's like 30 or so.
I don't think so. And I could look at numbers. I have a couple spreadsheets from a
Yeah, it's
variety
been
of
like,
people.
we can check it out. There's like 1,000 Maven kill data and stuff like that on the library Discord. I'm pretty sure it's like 25 or so.
Let's see.
At least 20%.
Yeah, it was like, what, 50 before?
It used to be like 70 almost. It was
something like
crazy.
that. So that was, and then what they did was they redirected, Awakened Gems to maps and invitations. You could drop an Awakened Gem off of a map witnessed by Maven. So if you have a map that is in a device and it is witnessed by Maven, meaning you haven't run it twice, like you've only witnessed it once. You can only witness a map once before you actually run your 10-way. That can drop Awakened Gem. The rates for that are abysmal to drop gems off of maps. I've had it happen like 3 or 4 times, but it's like in the hundreds, it feels.
Yeah, less than 1%, definitely.
Yeah, so that was changed. And then it can also drop off at invitations, which doesn't feel too bad, but it's not great. So if you do any invitation fight, like Deformed, whatever, those sort of things, those can all drop gems as well. But Uber bosses, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, somewhere 7. So we have Exarch, Eater, Maven, Elder, Shaper, Cirrus. Those are the 7 Pinnacle Uber bosses. They've received new uniques in a variety of forms. Where's the first one on the list? Okay, Rational Doctrine, that's off of Cortex. Progenesis, it's off of Maven. Arias End, Uber Cirrus. Nimbus is Eater. Entropic Devastation is Shaper. Echo Forge, also Maven. Annihilation's Approach is Exarch. Some of these uniques are fantastic. Some of these uniques are not fantastic. I guess we'll just briefly go over everyone's Uber bossing experience in this league, and then we'll go over the uniques themselves.
Can I make a slight correction real quick? Echo Forge is actually not Uber Maven only.
Oh, is it regular
It's
Maven?
From any Maven, yeah.
There you go.
It's like the equivalent of Star and Void Forge, you know. from
Okay,
the
so
other
it's
two
2%?
No, it's 1 in 200. It used to be 2%, but this league they nerfed the other swords as well, right?
Oh, so they're all 0.5
they
now?
got stronger,
Okay,
and now they're all like 1 in something like 200.
that's pretty bad.
All the Forge swords. Maybe not Void Forge though, because that one could be more common. So I'm not sure about that one, but Star Forge is definitely also 1
Void
in
Forge,
200.
a bit of a tangent.
So is Savior.
The Void Forge, for those who don't know, because I've ran a bunch of Beachhead this league. I have people who've done it also. The Endless Darkness div card drops off of the boss and Beachhead. And it's actually, it was a really, really good drop rate. And it's not terrible at the moment still. I don't know if it'd be faster to farm a Void Forge off of beachheads than off of actually just farming a Void Forge, but the drop rate's actually not abysmal, seemingly. So if you want to farm Void Forge, you could just do Harbinger forever, if that tickles your fancy.
Between 50 to 100 beachheads for a set, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's not that bad. I don't think that doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and if you want to gamble,
Pretty good.
obviously. But that's like, and Void Forge is obviously super strong right now, damage wise. Probably, definitely, I'd say the best of the 3 swords, but it's cool.
Yep.
Big purple stick. But yeah, so easy. How has your Uber bossing been in total?
Well, I mean, kind of like I mentioned, it was, with my plan or whatever I went back to standard after and just did like all these saved Uber bosses, but I'd say extremely unlucky. If we want to say roughly all of the new uniques are roughly like a 1 in 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some slight variation, but roughly a 1 in 50. Between Eater, Exarch, all the Uber bosses, I went roughly about 1 in 108 or 0 in 180. Without any of the new Uber uniques between like all 7, right? Or all 6. I already had the Uber Elder Gloves. Fortunately though, in the last week or so, I just did all of my blue guys in League, and I dropped Nimbus last night.
Nice.
And I also dropped Progenesis, which
Huge.
those are definitely 2 of the ones that I was most concerned about getting, because I feel like out of all of the new uniques, if there are any 2 that were to get nerfed next league, those potentially would be the ones. So it's nice to have them like kind of in their original forms or whatever. But yeah, I went like 2 and 10 in the last week on Uber bosses, but just a terrible dry streak at first, but finally turned around.
Nice. What are you, Leggy?
I've been, I don't know if lucky, unlucky overall. I think my droppers were kind of average. I got really lucky with the Shaper gloves. I think I got them on like, I don't know, I think 3rd kill or something in this league.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So I don't have to do Shaper for just gloves. And got the Exarch boots around like 1 in 50, so pretty average. What else am I missing? I'm missing the Progenesis still. So that's like 100 something Mavens in. No luck there. But I got a Echoport, so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
On the side note. And still don't have Nimbus. I think that's it, right?
Irrational Doctrine, the Cortex.
Oh
one?
yeah, that thing. Yeah. I think me and Manni are like 30 Cortexes in, and we don't have that. So, well, apparently it's 2% as well. We thought it was a bit better, but it's not.
Nope.
So that's the goal for me for most of the stuff I'm doing right now, which is
How are you
joining
farming
the
on
upside.
Cortexes? You just map rushing?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just map rushing, and I have like infinite conquerors right now. I think I have 150 sets or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of disgusting, but that's kind of propelled by the wing sextant farming.
Yep.
With like infinite harvest strat, but that's about it. But if you don't have that way of doing it, which I think is not even the fastest way of acquiring Cortex, just rush maps really. And,
Rushing
get
maps with maximum Kirek chance, because you can sell one too, and you can sell a lot of Conquerors, and the Conquerors will also drop the cards. Yeah. That's the way, pretty much. Many Conquerors and rushing.
Many.
I'll throw my 2 cents in there too. Yeah, I think I'm at like 12 Cortexes. Just
Same.
yeah. So what we're collectively around 100 Cortexes, no jewels. It sounds like.
Yeah. It's a cool jewel too.
Yeah.
It's
so
so
strong.
good.
Yeah.
And so generic too, right? It's kind of unique. You can put on almost every build.
Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of like the Bottle Faith too.
I think only one Uber boss unique is like kind of bad, like the Exarch boots, which are not even that bad.
Yeah.
It's very
They're just
specific,
niche, very niche.
yeah, very niche. But like most of the uniques are really, really strong. Like Progenesis, Nimbus, like those are the highlights of the league for a lot of people. I think in Trade League, like so many builds using them and like making crazy builds with them. So
Exploding
great
Flash too
conditions.
arrives and
Oh yeah,
also-
right.
Mhm.
Oh, I have that one too.
Yeah.
Chime in.
I would say they're all pretty well received.
It's the Uber Elder gloves and Shaper gloves. Those are kind of meh. You know, and the
Yeah,
Exile boots also kind of meh. Not very meta, at least right now.
I think Shaper Gloves gonna see a lot of spotlight soon when they
After the
kind of
poison
nerf time
nerfs?
chains. Yeah. I think you should, look out for those. Those gonna be good at some point when they get a bit more support because they're almost there.
yeah.
Yeah, if there's just one more, Spell Impale unique in the game or something to combine it with, or just a nerf to alternatives for poison, physical builds like poison, for sure.
Yep. I feel like the most Nimbus has to be the most popular one, or the most like talked about one of all of them. I think
It's just so fun too, you know.
it is, unless you're doing Delve, then it doesn't work. But aside from
They
that,
fixed that last night in that patch.
oh,
Yeah,
did
you
they
just
fix it?
download
Oh, God bless.
Yeah.
All right, good. I guess for those who don't know, the ring, since it projectiles fire in random directions, it was affecting your flares, and you were just yeeting flares fucking every which way.
It dynamites too, so it would just
Oh yeah,
throw the dynamite behind you all the time or something. It was awkward.
what a meme. But yeah, and also I don't know if this is you would all agree, but Eater Exarch uniques have the easiest probably to farm out because you could deterministically get them the fastest. Do you think?
Yeah, and Shaper and Cirrus sets also relatively easy to acquire, I'd say. Doesn't take much longer than an Exarch or Eater.
Yep.
really just
Uber
the
Elder
port.
is really bad, and Cortex,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
those are the two annoying ones for sure. Manny, what's your Uber experience this league, if anything?
Oh, it started really, really luckily. I found my Nimbus in, like, I think the second Uber Eater kill. And then I went for some Uber Exarch and got the boots within like 7 kills or so.
God damn.
Yeah. Here it starts.
What else was there? I found Uber Elder gloves again. I already had them from last league, but I found them in like the first 5 kills too. I found the Maven flask of around 25 and Uber Cirrus flask of around 15. So all of them way below average. I'm stuck for a long time now on Shaper gloves and Cortex Jewel though. Cortex Jewel I'm like 20 something in, and Shapers I've done exactly 99 right now. So that one is definitely taking some time.
Go do one right now.
Paying for my sins.
Go do one right now. Make it get the full 100.
I don't have one right now.
Oh, okay.
Soon.
Suck.
I found Echo Forge as well from Maven in I think like 15 kills or something, and that thing is so rare. So that was pretty good too. I found a second one, but now even.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, I've had a pretty similar experience to Easy where I've done, except for the last week part. I think in total I've ran, once they released all the stuff, I'd spent like a day or two in Standard, and I did probably 250 Uber sets across all of them. And the only thing I got was Nimbus to show for it, which was probably the one I wanted the most to get anyway, but I've had just nothing since, it is what it is. But
I mean, that's what you get for cheating in Standard.
it's true. Oh.
Yeah, the super high variance, right? Fucking 2%. So
Yeah.
sometimes
It's a bit rough.
You get some really bad streaks.
Yeah.
Guess we shouldn't talk about the Garsh power or whatever in Standard too, right? Having like 150 sets to turn.
Oh yeah, no, I finished
cheese
those instantly. I had like 90 sets or something complete. The only thing I did see, because this is actually a good point to show, which is of the, what is it called? King's Path? Is that the one? Oh, they've
Mad
changed
King?
it now. The Mad King, thank you. They periodically change div cards, right? One of the ones they've changed was the Mad King. I had probably 120 of these sets saved up or something.
Oh, really?
And when I handed them in, I received, I think it was 90% of the left and right one. I think like 5 of the bottom one and 0 of the top one, the Will of Chaos. So the Incursion one, I didn't get a single one in over 100 something sets.
God.
The
So
Delve one I got
weighted
like 5. So it's like, that's the point I'm making, is it's hyper weighted, this set. Basically, they weighted it off of, I guess, the annoyance to run the content, which is kind of whatever. I mean, I'm not sure what the drop rates are exactly of like the Valor, the Omnitech one, but this I didn't get a single one. So that they must have changed something with, or it was just crazily weighted. But I digress. So all these Uber bosses we've done, all these cool uniques they've added, which of them are you like most excited about of the Uber Boss uniques?
Can I make one slight point real quick
No,
before
you
you go?
can't.
No.
Okay. All right. No, sorry. I'm sorry. No, the Akil's prophecy, the one that gave you the prophecies or whatever.
Yep.
Since Squire's the one I'm still missing, even though I have 7 of the 8 cards. I think I turned in roughly 150 of those sets and got no double corrupted Squire, which is also
Brutal. Yeah, I mean,
probably expected.
I did
but-
the Dodri when I was looking for the Dodri's tongue, I handed in like 70, 80 of the Dodri set, and I never hit that.
Yeah.
And we actually, except Manny mentioned it a couple weeks ago. He was talking about the whatever that ring card is, like the generic
Hubris.
Hubris. Okay, and that one was it. No one hit Calandra's touch yet on that group of people who were handing them in.
Wait, the data set is like 5,000 right now, and no Calandra's touch yet.
5,000.
Like 5,000 sets.
And
in
I
cards.
I posted, but we got confirmation. I just asked Bex on Twitter, is it even in the pool? And she said yes. So it's in there. It's just,
But did she say like, but that might change, which I thought was kind of like,
well, every single time I talk to Bex, she gets some fucking sassy, non-answer like it's cryptic or some shit. But that's just how she is.
It's not that surprising that there's no Calandra's touch, because even the tier 1s that are a lot more common, right? Like Death Rush, uniques that you regularly find.
Yeah.
Even those only showed up 5 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, the card is just bad.
Yeah. Well,
It's just too many rings, I
most
guess.
div cards are. I mean, I think that
The ring is too large.
div cards now feel really, at least from probably a trade league perspective, much more like payment plans than like worth investing into to even attempt to get things, because I feel like the waiting is like on so many div cards is brutal. But yeah, of the uniques, which one you guys the most hyped about from the Uber uniques? Are ones that you're using or ones that you enjoy the most?
I'm using Nimbus on 2 out of my 3 characters. I'm having a lot of fun with that unique.
Yeah.
So good for clear. And for Spark, it's, basically double single target damage. Deleting bosses in seconds. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
I would be excited for Nemesis as well if I had it, but I don't yet. But yeah, Nemesis is one of those uniques that change a lot of things. Like giving Spark 100% more damage is just absurd, and making some builds really interesting, like those Creeping Frost builds or some Fireball builds.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You think it'll be nerfed?
Great item. I would say no, but like I'm really torn on that one, because like I think it won't be nerfed because it's 2% from the Uber boss, but it has such a big impact on Trade League, so that is the reason I think it might get nerfed, because it's so prevalent in Trade League.
I think there's easy nerfs to do. They could just, if you make that positive dex and negative dex, I think that would just be annoying enough, probably, that it's just like, that's a little bit of a nerf. There's like a little like micro nerfs they could do to it. It's hard to change it because they can't really change the bottom 2 lines without affecting its form
They
and
could
function.
just remove some of the stats, like the resist or the dex, that's true. Or the projectile damage.
Yeah, just make it negative instead of positive. So it's like, all right, there's a little bit of a downside.
Yeah,
There's
that would actually be
It's because you have
pretty
things like
interesting.
Astral Projector, for example. Not that it's the same ring, but it's similar in kind of function, to where it's changing the modality of the ring. And Astral, no, I just typed in Astral Projection, the div card. That's a shield. Astral Projector has that less AoE tag on it and less damage tag, right? Which I feel like that's like something like Nimbus in function, the bottom line. They could easily add something like that to it, and it would be of a similar type.
I think even Junkron, which was the person that helped design the ring, because that's his unique. He was really surprised how it worked, how strong it was after it was released. Like he was really thinking that it's not going to be as strong as it is, but it turned out to be really broken.
I mean, yeah, it doubles a lot of builds damage and duration to things, and it also just gives you basically insta clear when you reach a certain level of projectile entropy. Pretty good. And it has stats and res. It's always like the thing we come back to, like how often we discuss uniques, any of us, when they release, every time we do these things, they're like, these are the new 20 uniques this league. And we look at it and it's like, yep, it's got no stats, got no res. Real fucking shame. This thing's not going to be used, I guess. Like, you have even like the Dawn Strider boots, the ones off Exarch that give the huge buff to like ancestral things. Like, they have 30 movement speed and like tier 1 life.
I was just gonna say, we haven't mentioned that one yet. It's not an Uber drop.
No.
But I was actually very happy when I found that, because I played a Poisonous Concoction League starter when I started SSF. And I found them on my Quest Exarch, and those boots are actually so good.
Yep.
They gave me like a ton of attack speed. They were better than my rare boots because they didn't have a lot of life yet at that point. And it was actually great. Those are a great addition, I think.
Yep. Yeah, super, super strong boots.
Typical Ben unique, right?
I don't know how, like, this is, we've talked about this previously, but like the totem or like the single target buff meta for like melee is, I don't think it's maybe it's not as bad as it has been historically. Maybe it is. But there's like a lot of those things where you'll have your clear setup, which is like the same skill, and then when you get to the boss, you have to put a totem down, you have to drop a orb, you have to do a thing. I'm still like on the fence if that's like a good thing or not. That like your single target's not gated, but like maybe massively enhanced by these like little things you're doing every time you want to engage with a single target enemy.
I don't really think that's a melee only thing. I mean, melee might be the most extreme way or version of it, but all builds have that to some degree. You have that's just the game. There's debuffs and buffs that you use, and they're not worth using while clearing, but for bossing you use them. Which is how it is.
I think that's not going to change, especially with the the wake of supposed PoE2 changes right to the gems.
And hand casting curses, I guess, is one more thing now that not that we have to do, but like people like Manni said,
encouraged to do it now.
Yeah, it's a lot more encouraged. That does seem like that's the direction they're kind of leaning towards. It's like, you want to get this degen single target, well, you better push your 5 buttons before each you do your hit. I think I like the mechanical edition of that, where it's like encouraging you to kind of like I don't want to say it's like Goku doing Kamehameha, like charging up before each hit, but like you're prepping your attack in a way, your burst of damage.
In a way, I see those things like a crutch that you do on your when you're weak, right? On your league start, you do that a lot, and the more you progress through a league, the better your gear gets. The more of those things you drop for convenience. You like
streamlined, yeah.
It's like you pay for power basically with more clicks.
Was about to say the same thing. Like it's just gear progression in some sort, right? Like the more gear you get, the less relevant that stuff is because you're just gonna blow up the screen. So I think that's kind of healthy in most cases.
Like it cycles back around. So you have like your starter build, and then all these little bells and whistles are required to clear your first bosses. And then your build gets good enough, you don't need them. And then you start doing Ubers, and then you need them again. You go back to having all your things again.
Yeah, kind of true.
It's the cyclical nature. Now wait till we have double Uber bosses, triple Uber bosses.
Uber
new game plus 10. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Uber Hillock.
Oh boy.
New P plus.
Oh yeah. What is our what's our agenda say? I haven't even looked at it in a while. We talked about. I guess we didn't talk about.
I have one more topic. If you don't know what to talk about, how do you guys feel about Harbinger rework and fracture farming? Because that's been a pretty big point of gameplay for SSF, at least in my opinion. It's been pretty dominant and very annoying. I don't like it.
I don't like how rare fracturing orbs are, considering what part of the process of crafting like that is. Like, even so, if you're
the fact that they're 1 in 4 on top of that grind is just
so it's 1 in 2 if you're under certain circumstances. Like, say I'm trying to craft whatever, like an Elliot claw. Like so I have to get a claw that has tier 1 attack speed and tier 1 crit chance to make it a 50-50. But like, even then, you could very easily go 3 or 4 in a row of whiffing that. And for the average player, whatever that means, playtime wise, 2 to 3 hours a night, we'll say, if you're mapping and you're trying to farm up fracturing orbs, like that could be a month of trying to get enough fracturing orbs. Like, the rates are really abysmal, I feel like, to where it's even then, again, that's the start of the craft. Like, okay, cool, I fractured tier 1 attack speed. Now I get to make the item, But this is, I think, a byproduct of we just don't have a lot of crafting tools are less than we used to have by a substantial amount.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, personally, I feel like the only thing I'm gonna use like I wouldn't use a fracturing orb, I guess, on a claw, at least at this state, because you could potentially still drop one the next map, but like stuff that is truly that one
+2
for like
arrows,
a
I guess,
+2
is the big one,
arrows,
yeah.
or yeah, like
Essence
a
mods.
essence mod, cold chill mod on like gloves, like temple mods, or you know, stuff like that, delve mods, yeah, just stuff that you can't naturally get fractured or 86 stuff. Yeah.
But even
Yeah,
that,
It's the whole,
sucks.
like... Sorry, go ahead.
how dare
Oh
you?
no, yeah, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, the grind is definitely a grind, and not being a big fan of Harbinger does not make it. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you kind of got to do it to like make those top echelon builds for something like a +2 arrows. But yeah, I've never been a big fan of grinding Harbingers. So now that you almost have to, I'm definitely not a big as a fan of it.
It's just
No.
gonna be really bad next league when we don't have Harvey on the device.
Yeah.
This is a good league for
Yeah.
it. Next
Yeah.
league it's gonna be misery though.
Well, unless it's a crafting league, then it might be something.
I wouldn't even
better.
mind farming the orbs, you know. It's just that it's similar to Orb of Dominance, you know, the old Maven orb, where you farm the orb and then it's just a coin flip. It's just Jesus take the wheel, click the orb, and you can't influence it in any way, right? It's just 50-50 at best, or even 1 in 4 for Fracture Orb.
Yeah,
It does feel bad.
it does.
But the answer is just to not get unlucky, I guess, and then it's fine.
The only
But when you
thing
have a
I'd
really
say
bad
is
streak,
the byproduct
I haven't
is you
even
get
had a
ancient
bad one
orbs.
yet.
That's about it. You know, those are okay. As you're farming out your fractions, it's like, oh, I get ancient orbs, but it's like 50 to 1 or something. Like by the
Yeah.
time you finish one fraction, you have 50 ancient orbs. It's like when you realize the context of that, it's kind of brutal.
Yeah, I think GGG desperately wanted to make Harbinger not completely irrelevant because that's what happened last league, right? No one wanted to farm Harvey because it had no purpose in the game, so they wanted to, you know, maybe nerf Harvest yet again.
Maybe we should
Even though
add,
Harvest
add a
looked pretty
divine
good.
shard then maybe.
Maybe, but they wanted to, I don't know, give some identity to Harvey and
I
you know,
do
make,
like that
make it
idea.
relevant.
It's just that
But it doesn't feel good. I think it just feels really bad with the current rates and like the way it's structured. Like because, for example, if you're farming the fractured shards without the the special sextant that give you
Yeah.
more rare shards and like more shards, etc., it just feels terrible. It's so bad. And to just gate the raids behind the sextant, and then you have to hit it, and it just a big grind and just a
bunch of
process.
layers of bullshit.
Yeah, to even attempt to craft an item, which
Yep.
we had
Yeah, 'cause-
much easier access before, right?
I want to say Lighty and Legi, both of y'all two were pretty unlucky with claw crafting last
Oh,
league,
God.
right? And that was
Pitiful.
without the fracturing orbs.
I
and
never
stuff,
got
right?
it.
That was just like
It was
juice and
I left fractured 11 claws and I never hit attack speed on any of them. Like I was just like this. I mean, that was brutal. I mean, to be fair, when I was talking to Karn last time, he said he ran 100 bosses last league and never saw, or during whatever the Badger League was, and never saw a Oshabi. So if this was like then, it would be even worse. But it's better for like maybe it's better than Harvest was because there's like I don't want to say it's less RNG, but like on average you'll probably combine an orb faster than you're finding Oshabis over the course of a whole league.
the hobby farm is more consistent. That is true.
But
That is the one good thing about the fractures now. Instead of
Yeah.
being a complete lottery to find the Oshabi, it's now an actual
it's like less zero
consistent
sum, I guess,
grind
yeah.
where you get shards frequently.
yeah, that is. I will
is
give
good.
it
I
that.
don't think it's good. I mean, it's just better, but it's like I'm eating dog
It's
shit
a lot
instead of
slower,
cat
though.
shit.
It's
Like,
like
I don't
it's more
feel-
consistent, but
it doesn't
slower.
feel great.
And it's not even that bad this league, but next league when you can't force 3 extra harbingers on each map, it's gonna be really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, not good. Not good by any stretch. This is what time? We got like. I guess we'll should we try to end this around 2 hours? Is that like a rough, a rough thing we should be doing, or does it matter? I don't know. No one cares.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll have to make a call in a bit, but yeah, I got some time.
Okay, do you want to talk about the league extension because they extended the this is kind of tied into ExileCon, so they've extended the league because the next league is starting mid-April, early
I guess.
April.
Yeah,
So
not
they
too
say
much
early
from now.
April. It'll probably be mid-April. Understood.
5-4 おしゃびずディスリーグサドロップレートシール
Just because
ドランダム
they are who they are. Who knows? This is how many leagues have been delayed or pushed now? Of the past year. All
At
of
least
them?
half of them.
Yeah, at least. I still don't. This is like the forever thing. People are like, why don't you just make 3-4 months leagues versus whatever, have more events. I don't think I'm not sure if that's the answer, because I feel like if we just gave them more time, they would just fill the same time with, and we'd still be delayed. They'd try to do more in the same time frame. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
You're just gonna plan for like a 4-month
Exactly.
cycle, right? So the leagues are gonna be larger in scope again.
and it's just going to keep being pushed. I'd prefer them delaying a league and then having a finished product than not delaying a league and having a shit show. It's not always the case. I mean, sometimes they delay a league and it's still a shit show, but that's fine. What do you guys planning on doing? So there's supposed to be events going up, and we have Gauntlet coming up. And I know you both have participated in Gauntlets before and like temp league things. Anything you're looking forward to, or any plans for those sort of events? That's next week, I believe, right? The 10th it starts for Gauntlet.
I'm not planning to play any events. I think I'm, on the unique grind train, and the league is good. Builds are fun, and so game is in good state. So I'm kind of delighted that they actually extend the league. It's pretty much the similar situation I had in Heist. A lot of people dislike Heist for being Heist, but like I had my super fun to play build, so I don't mind playing it 1 month longer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean-
I'm not planning to play the Gauntlet. I'm actually pretty excited for the unique grind this league. I got some lucky progress, like Grand Spectrums, and my incursion shield was missing for like 3 years now.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's
congrats
pretty
on that.
Are we all missing that? I mean, is that the last one we've all been waiting for? Was the shield?
I
think I
found
have,
it like 2 leagues ago, but yeah, it was the last.
What the fuck?
Incursion
Why is that
ever
shield
got.
so rare?
I think I have like 3 spare vials.
The shield is the rarest one that doesn't have a card. Like there's more rare ones, but they have a card to circumvent it.
Got it. That's what it is.
I stole all y'all's vials. Like I said, I'm stockpiling those vials for the shield.
I tried to gamble the vial card, and I got it up to 9, and I lost it, and I didn't feel like farming at the last one. I lost them all.
They would have gotten 10 shields, not just one.
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never been this close, I think. I'm like 6 uniques off only. Only really 5, because I can always cheat Witchbane in standard with the cards. I got, like you guys have hundreds of sets.
Yep.
So I'm very close, actually. So I'm down to grind these 2 months and maybe get it done.
I would love it. I would love it. I'm still convinced there's some, a 8-year-old Korean child out there who has all the uniques, just hasn't advertised it. Asian superiority out there.
Maybe Iron has been playing all this time on a Smurf account. And he has a
possible,
new
yeah.
collection already. Just waiting for someone to announce his collection so he can show his even better collection.
Yep. Double corrupted every unique.
Yeah. Do you have any Gauntlet plans, Manny?
Nah, I'm not going to play the Gauntlet. I don't usually
Coward.
play it.
Why don't you play
Sometimes
it?
when I'm bored, I go to level 90, but no,
Yeah.
I'm not good enough at this game to kill any bosses not in Gauntlet.
I don't think that's true, but I think it's just like, I don't know. It depends. To me, I used to play hardcore almost exclusively when Path first came out, into the high 90s even, and but I just feel like the game just isn't like made for hardcore anymore. And it becomes less and less as like more kind of one-shotty mechanics exist that I
think-
can't even identify what the fuck killed me half the time.
I think it's just more fun in softcore in most cases. You can just, run more fun mobs, usually like a bit,
Sure.
more juiced mechanics. And you don't have to be, on your toes 24/7.
Yeah. I think if Path had better visual clarity and maybe a system to identify specifically or even loosely what killed you, I'd be more inclined to play, especially because it's just hard to learn and prepare to counteract a circumstance if I don't understand
I
specifically
think a lot of
what it
people
was.
in hardcore just circumvent that with just very, very tanky builds, like very specifically built builds,
Yeah.
and that can just tank a lot of stuff. Like let's say we're gonna get an example of like Steel Mage's Pathfinder this league, like Transcendence, etc. Like this is strictly hardcore build that it's good in softcore. Obviously, it's very good in softcore, but you would build it a bit differently usually, right? So that's this big difference, I think.
For sure, yeah. I wonder if they're gonna do any well,
They said
mentioned
there's gonna be some surprises. They're probably gonna be flashback or something along those lines, endless
Yeah.
or something like that, probably.
mayhem or whatever, that sort of stuff. You know, it'd be
Maybe Endless
interesting.
Heist finally
So I
comes
was-
back.
Endless Heist, I wouldn't mind. I would like to see maybe Endless Sanctum somehow.
Oh my god, yeah.
If they did Endless, I mean, they would have to basically, it'd have to be like Descent, where they drop prefab gear or somehow give.
They would have to buff
loot.
gear drops a lot, yeah, because it doesn't really drop a gear right now, right?
But if
Mostly
there was
just currency.
Endless Sanctum, and it was the same amount of resolve from your level 1 character onwards, like it was you just bouncing that number up and down, that'd be pretty interesting.
Oh, and then you just try to go as far as you can.
Yeah.
On like
You
one
could
character,
probably
like
go
a
forever.
real
Oh, yeah.
roguelike
Yeah,
game.
that'd be real roguelike.
That sounds kind of cool. Actually.
That would be probably so well received. We'll never see any other thing.
True.
It'd be kind of cool. Easy. Any plans to do any sort of, you don't touch Goblin, right?
Nah, no
You have a
gauntlet.
brain,
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
understand.
just gonna keep on this unique grind. I think my count's around 21 missing now, so definitely some not easy ones, but definitely more obtainable than like a 5 count, or 6 count. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep piddling away.
Yep. Nice.
Good luck.
No,
Thank
bad
you.
luck. Don't you?
Yeah, just terrible.
Exile Con it's the big thing. So ties into.
That's probably why
Path 2.
that's why the leak is delayed, right?
Oh,
I think that's more than anything else.
They're delaying
They
it
need to line
because
it
they
up.
want to line up the release of, I assume, the Path 2 beta plus the following league, so they can kind of like, have it all in a row.
Yeah,
I would
it's
almost assume that the league in April and the subsequent league are probably being worked on now. Like they're trying to probably knock off the whole block leading up to the beta. So they have to get all the timing appropriate, especially with Diablo 4 and what have you.
I'm expecting some really big changes in this or the next league. Some kind of like betrayal-like changes where they completely change like a base system of the game, like the Masters. I think there's gonna be something big.
I think they kind of have to
In
because
preparation for PoE 2, or maybe there's gonna be like the fusing's gone thing. Maybe that happens early, right?
Well,
something like that could totally drop.
Path 2 is probably, I'm going to guess it's like a year from now, if the actual full release, maybe. So if July is going to be, I'm assuming they're going to do probably like December. That chunk is going to be like the open beta for Path 2. That's my guess, at least. So meaning like maybe 3 months after or 6 months, it's going to be the full, ship. Unless they try to put it at the end of the league, which would be, that's fast. But if that's the case, I think to get
And maybe they're gonna drop the bomb. ExileCon, they're gonna say
Path
PoE 2
2
comes
next
out
week.
next week.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I think that'd be a mistake, but that's fine. All right, the same time Diablo comes out. Yeah, okay. We know where they want to be for the most part for Path 2 based off of seeing it. We know where we are now, and we're pretty far from that to where we are based off of what they said they wanted to change. So kind of what you're saying, I don't know if it's going to be good changes, but there's going to have to kind of be some drastic changes as far as like what we're used to.
Plus some of the
soon
big like core changes to the game that they wanted to make for PoE 2.
Yeah.
There was the fusing gone and mix it into gems instead, right? That was one big aspect that I remember.
There's the Ascensions. There's no more lab in Path 2.
That would have to wait for PoE 2, right? The new Ascendancies, they're going to be PoE 2 only. Or at least they're going to be introduced to PoE 2, surely. I don't think that would come early.
Well, if you take Path 1 versus Path 2, then you'll get Path 1 Ascendancies versus Path 2. But we don't know the process in which you're going to acquire the Ascendancies in what is the new Path 1. Do you know what I'm saying?
I assume lab is still going to be for PoE 1. They just said in PoE 2 campaign, right? There's going to be a new way of ascending.
They said that like years ago.
Yeah, well,
right?
that's the big thing is we haven't had any concrete information for almost 2 years now. It's who knows? Maybe the game's a trading card game next week.
What about the new weapon types, like the spears
Javelins,
and crossbows?
yeah,
Maybe that
crossbows,
shit
yeah.
comes out early.
Yep, that'd be cool. I mean, we'd love to see crossbows next league. Finally, we get the bow league we've been dreaming of. Even though bows have been fine. I mean, we've had Omni bow forever, but every time they say it's bow league, it wasn't even
I'd
fucking
love
bow
to
league.
swap my bolts between every pack.
Oh yeah, you can yell armor piercing bolt in game in IRL.
The best streaming experience for everyone watching, right?
Just start
True
chanting
content.
it. Yeah, change all of your OBS and Streamlabs sounds to be armor piercing bolt, freezing bolt, follower bolt, subscriber bolt.
But any other big changes that I'm forgetting about that they announced for PoE2? I don't even remember. It's been so long.
The drastic slowing down of the game. That's one thing they wanted to do. The big swindle. It's just only ruthless, nothing else.
That's
but
never
ruthless.
going to happen.
How dare you? That's where it feels like it's really the game devs versus the players in a way. Cause like we're like, we want to slow down the game, and we're like, no, and they're like, well, we're gonna do it, and we're like, no.
Yeah. I think they got a lot of feedback that the game was too fast at some point. Do you guys remember the times before ExileCon when like the main feedback of the game was, things are dying too quickly. There's no real combat. Grim Dawn is so much better. There's real combat there.
I remember that.
There was this era, and they're reacting on that. They planned for more meaningful combat in PoE2, but turns out we don't actually want that.
I don't have substantial confidence in who they're polling for these things. It's like the same way that I feel like their internal testing is, absolutely whack half the time that things get passed. It's like the fact that they thought like we want to pick up metamorph organs or like that sort of shit gets by, and you're like, I don't know if they're testing or who they're polling for these sort of things. So I'm sure they
just focus on what they're doing well. Like they're doing
exactly.
The end game, the variety of end game, like the mapping system, Atlas tree that they added in the last year or two. That stuff is awesome. They should do more of that stuff and not go back to making new campaigns.
We should get Atlas tree masteries. That's what we should get. Let's get more layers.
Yeah,
deeper Atlas tree jewels and clusters. How deep can we get?
Memory system is very well done as well. I really like it.
Memories are fun. They're kind of scarce. Not scarce, but the ones you want are scarce. But
that's one thing I wanted to complain about. I hate how they added this beast memory.
Always complaining.
The beast memory is so good, right?
Yeah.
It's finally some new beasts for Einha, some really interesting craft that I would love to farm more of. I would love to farm more watches like rerolls. I would love to farm
Go
the
to Trade
synthesis
League.
things.
Stop complaining.
Yeah.
Those are actually so
that
good,
should have been a keystone or notable. That there should have been like your maps have a 2% chance.
They should let us farm those in
contain
maps. Those are so good.
harvest beasts.
I would farm Einha all day, even if they were rare as hell. Like imprint or rarer. I would farm those watches I rerolls and everything. I would farm that all day.
I could see that being an Atlas node
Einha would be
next
so
league.
exciting if they could spawn in every map.
Or just even say a 1%. There's a 1% chance a red beast is replaced with a harvest red beast. Easy. Like that's
exactly.
That's enough. That's
just
plenty.
some
It'll
Atlas
be a
peasant,
really
let us
good change,
grind,
yeah.
Einha. I would love
Because they're like, I don't even think they're busted. They're just like fun and new. Also, I mean, getting free conquer maps, good re-rolling partial watcher's eye is good, but it's still like you have a 50-50 of ruining that watcher's eye. It's not like it's insane, Just good.
Yeah.
Just good times. So
like the Val Temple or Shaper Guardian or something, right? Those are all kind of interesting too, right? Better than random unique bow number 720. We don't need that many unique bows.
it's
but you
called
get
a
that beast
Ross
every
Reach,
map.
and you're gonna like it. All right.
I mean, don't you like the talisman crafting?
I mean, that is an antique
Easter we
of a
had.
bygone time. Do you remember there was a conversation that, I don't know if you remember this, Chris said this might have been a year or two ago, where they were talking about Headhunter nerfs after Talismans got the Smart Roll nerfed. And he was like, we had an internal discussion and it was either Talismans or Headhunter. And then we ended up nerfing Talisman. And it was like, what the fuck is even happening over at HQ? That this is like, Talismans are even in the game at this point, let alone aren't craftable. And it's like, this is, Talismans died so Headhunter could survive that patch. Yeah, Talismans they're out there. I do miss
They're a
Smart
thing, apparently.
Roll. Well.
You know how Einha works in Ruthless, by the way?
Oh, I have no idea. I assume he gives you a scrap.
He doesn't give you unique items. All those unique items are replaced with talismans. So you have the different talisman bases.
Oh boy.
So when you do an Einha mission, you get one like every 100 maps. You finally get your Einha mission, you roll it up, you capture the beast, you go to Menagerie and kill it, and you get a white talisman with 4% chance to freeze.
That's amazing.
Sometimes it's even blue if you're lucky.
Ooh.
It's pretty interesting.
Wow. Big spender. So Exile Con is in April. Nope, it's in July. The new league's in April. Or whatever. Yes, Exile Con is in July. July 29th to the 30th. Only 2
It's
days?
like 6 months from now, right? So 2 more months of this league and then another 4-month league, and then
Exile Con's only 2 days, though? I guess it is.
Mhm.
Huh.
yeah, 1 weekend.
So the convention will showcase everything you need to know about Path of Exile 2. Well, doubt, but that's
Probably a
fine.
release date.
Yeah, it'll showcase everything I need to know.
They will talk about
I want patch
talismans,
notes. That's what I
definitely.
want.
What's
PoE
getting nerfed?
Mobile. I guess that's a good thing. Anyone here going to play Path Mobile if it comes out?
I would try it.
If it's a direct integration to, but it's not, right? Or is it?
I don't know if the servers are the same. Like it's
No,
Okay.
It's not. It's completely different to the main
Okay,
game.
okay.
It's not integrated at all. It's like it's a game based on PoE, but it's not the same as normal PoE at all. From what we've seen on ExileCon.
I'll
hope-
definitely
hope
try
it's a
it.
fucking
I think it's
gacha
gonna be
game.
interesting.
It's gonna be a goddamn gotcha game. I could feel it. I can't wait.
I hope it's not online.
Get your
You know,
credit cards
just
ready.
Play it on my train or something.
Your train. Wow.
On my train ride.
I
sorry.
can't believe this man owns a train.
I have multiple
German
trains.
superiority. He's got a whole train yard now.
Yeah, I don't have a car
Yeah,
anymore.
the stream
No
box
cars.
going
I have
somewhere.
multiple trains. He goes to his backyard, takes his trains, takes one train to the next train. Path of Exile 3.22 expansion. Any predictions? New league?
Talisman 2.
Talisman 2.0?
I already said I think there's going to be some big changes either next league or the league after.
They're gonna remove
Some PoE 2 changes going to come earlier. A big
change.
rework
What's-
of Masters
What
or
would you
something.
want to see? If like the biggest change possible.
I think they're going to bring back a couple leagues.
Mm.
Like Ultimatum is going to come back and Sentinel is going to come. I don't know. I think they're going to bring them back. Kind of like how they bring them back in Betrayal, you know? Betrayal, there was Stealth League and Incursion in Bestiary before, and they completely ignored them, didn't add them to the main game, and then they all came back in one league, big rework. I think that's going to happen again.
I could see them doing what they did for like Archdem Beyond, like those revamp type things. Like they could easily replace Torment with Sentinel, basically.
Yeah.
Just basically Ghost with player in your control.
I could see them combining Bestiary and Harvest together somehow.
Sure. Well, they bridged the
Yeah.
gap. I mean, they could easily add Ultimatum to Incursion if they wanted to. They're both Val themed. Just
Yeah.
somehow combine those. That'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, they're definitely, without question, their mission. We have no idea, but I think they've been trimming the fat basically leading up to Path 2, and they're going to be condensing things as much as possible and kind of cutting the chaff of leagues and mechanics and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think this is a really good shout from Manni.
Yeah.
Like integrating leagues, like as you're saying, like cutting the fat, right, and just consolidating things. But also, I think we might get some new bosses because Ether and Exile have been there for a while, so people might be a bit bored with those already. So maybe something new, but it'll be cool to see core systems change,
Well, there's
which I'm hoping for.
what is it? How many was it? Maven or Elder? No, Elder doesn't speak, but was it Maven mention, or maybe it was the guy? Who's the guy witnessing Maven? The little blue dude.
The Envoy.
Envoy. There you go. He mentioned the other Elder like entities at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
They are coming.
Maybe he's just using proper pronouns. You don't know. You never know. Maybe there's no other bosses. Maybe they's just Maven.
I mean, he was referencing Exarch and Dieter and Shrek and the Red Shrek.
Shrek and Red Shrek.
Shrek.
Hold on, you got some sort of fancy 3.20 expansion I don't have. I think. I don't remember Red Shrek. Is that the dragon or is that the donkey? Which of the Shrek characters?
Why not both?
Or is this some sort of ancient Polish folklore that you had Red Shrek, like the Wish.com Shrek? He wasn't green. He didn't live in a swamp. He was red and he lived inside of an onion or something.
No comment on that.
Okay.
No comment.
No. Why don't you go
I'm
take
not gonna
Manny's
tell you
train?
insider GG secrets.
Secret Red Shrek.
But yeah, I'm
Farquaad
just
inbound.
was talking about the Infinite Hunger and Black Star, right? Obviously.
Yeah. I would love to see a new boss. I mean, I'm pretty okay with the current system for Eater Exarch, I would just like 4 more bosses. Like I don't think that system's too offensive. I think it
Yeah, I
solves
think the system is really good.
problem,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it works well in trade leagues. If you don't want to, I don't like it, but if you don't want to run it, you just sell it. Sure, like that works fine. If the uniques are expensive, run it. Take your gamble. Yada yada yada. 14 for the mini, 28 for the big boss. I would just like to see 2 new bosses. Like, I think that'd be pretty cool. Just we have make a chaos one, make a physical one, whatever. Easy peasy.
And some new crafting coming with like maybe some new influence, like same as they
Sure.
added Conqueror influence on top of the Shaper and Elder. So
it would almost
maybe they
make
add
sense to
two
add,
new ones.
because every other boss is in sets of 4 for the keystones, right? Or 4 for the fragments, then going up. So maybe they add 2 new Exarch Eater-esque bosses and 2 new mini bosses, and then all 4 of them will drop a fragment to fight the big Giga Boy.
Oh no!
The
Zana Eldritch
we
entity.
we get to fight Uber Zana.
But there won't be a fragment swap.
No.
Uh-huh.
Well, we don't talk. Us solo self-help players don't talk about Uber Elder Fragment Swap. It's too depressing. It's the worst decision that they've never not made. It's like, how could that not be in the game at this point?
I was sitting at 0-22 this league. I've had it worse than ever before.
Yeah, looking at your stash and seeing 30 of one fragment, 0 of the other is like, all right, cool, man. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Appreciate Christopher. So Path of what am I saying? Exile Con. What sort of stuff would you like to? Exile. This is the second one, right? So it's kind of a new thing. Path of Exile is a decently big game. To have a convention itself is a pretty big milestone. What sort of stuff would you like to even see at ExileCon? I mean, Easy's going. I don't think the other 3 of us are going, right? Because we're all broke boys. Okay, bunch of sad broke boys.
It's too far away.
Just take it. Just take Manny's train. There's a direct line to ExileCon. There's what kind of like fun things would you like to see at ExileCon? Because we've seen BlizzCon over the years for forever now. They have like cosplay competitions and that sort of stuff. Like, what would you like to see at that sort of convention? Because they had the trading card thing last time. Anything that comes to mind?
There's supposed to be another race event, right?
Oh yeah.
Crowning a world champion.
Oh boy. To say world is a bit interesting when there's 5,000 people there, maybe.
Maybe it's gonna be the Bone Shatter only race, and Karn have a chance to win.
Yeah. I heard that Karn's gonna walk up on stage and cast Bone Shatter on Chris, and he's gonna turn into 1,000 Black Lotuses.
And I'm gonna just yell, "No way, dude!"
Mm-hmm. That's it.
It's over.
Easy, you're gonna be there. What do you want to say?
Well, I'm kind of like impartial to a degree, right? Like from the actual convention itself, it can really be whatever. New Zealand has always been like a personal bucket list like kind of trip, and then it just kind of worked out perfectly, lining up with ExileCon, right? So, I mean, I'm obviously going for ExileCon, but I could also not go to ExileCon and be perfectly content too. So it's kind of like weird like that. Obviously, Path of Exile is a big a big hobby of mine, obviously too, but it's almost more of like going to the country itself and then going to Australia for some time too while I'm over there.
Nice. So
awesome.
But like from the convention itself, I mean, I haven't really even done any. I've never done like a TwitchCon or any like gaming cons. I've done some like kind of trading card conventions like Collecticon.
Yeah.
But that's really it. So it's kind of been far and few between. So watching some of the live streams from the first one, I mean, it seeing all the models and stuff, and then getting to see like, I guess them kind of talk through it. I guess being able to, didn't they do like a play of PoE 2, like a demo kind of thing? So, being able to do some like, I guess like early access stuff like that'll be kind of cool. Like stuff you could only do while you're there before it gets
I'm sure
released.
it's going to happen again.
Yeah, so I mean, stuff like that, I think I'd like to see at the actual convention. Obviously, getting to run into, streamers or, just, people that you've watched and learned from, that's going to be kind of cool too. Like, I think Iron's going to go, talked to Iron for a long time, but being able to meet some of these people like in real life, put faces to it and stuff, you know,
Nice.
it'd be kind of cool.
Now,
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great.
you mentioned you've been to Collecticon.
Yes.
Collecticon is a big convention. For those who don't know, Vanilla Ice goes there all the time, and he performs the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song. Would you like someone? What C-list celebrity would you like to come to ExileCon and perform?
I want Einhard 2.0.
Good.
I was gonna ask. Last time we had Einhard impressions.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be this time? Which NPC do you need on the stage this time?
Man.
Any ideas?
I want to see Zaro. I want to see people, or Cirrus would be good also.
Oh shit! So it would be way too edgy.
It's
People would
so
actually punch
cringe.
him in the face. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a weep convention, dude. Come on.
Well, that's this. So
Years of build-up frustration
these
from the
conventions
Cirrus fight.
typically
People are gonna
share
punch.
the center with other things going on. So most likely ExileCon's gonna be like on one floor, and then the next floor is like, you know, FurryCon 2023. So there very well could be something else at the same convention center.
Yeah, the crossover between Cirrus and
Oh
know,
man.
DJ and stuff.
Chat said the expedition boss. I would love to see Medved, limb slicer, heart render. That'd be great.
What
Oh,
if it's
boy.
Danik this time around?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh, he would bring
Mine's
some
favorite
hype, man.
NPC.
I don't know if I want to hear Danig. You can always tell a black, and then the mic cuts off right there.
Okay, dude.
Come on, dude. If you were saying that I'm gonna be, dropping those.
Oh boy. What else do they say in this news post to wrap it up here? Any if you're coming to ExileCon, want to do some traveling? You recommend
Yeah,
traveling before? Okay.
They said we're going Goblin mode on the expansion after ExileCon, so it's definitely going to be Goblin themed.
That'd be cool.
Surely.
Before going full goblin mode. I feel like whatever intern types that was really excited that day.
I think that person read too many Twitter memes.
Probably. I guess this would be a decent time as we kind of soft wrap it. What do you want to say? I see your mic's lighting up. Speak
No.
now. No, you okay? Go take a train.
He agreed.
Wow. Do a little bit of, I guess, Q&A before we end it. So anyone in chat, whatever question you have for any of us, type the person's name, or you can just type for everyone, and then ask the question. And if you guys aren't, I'll read out the questions so you guys don't have to like look at stream or whatever. And then you can
I see them.
you can answer it. That'll be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Uh-oh, Manny's typing. Just typing stare. Cool. This doesn't help anybody. All right. Fantastic. Oh boy. Okay, question for me. Looking for a tanky build that could face tank nearly, if not all things, that is good at mapping and bossing, that isn't expensive.
Looking for the Holy Grail.
Yeah. To start and good to play with a friend. I mean, if you're just looking for a build that could do it all and is tanky, there's really no shortage of those. We were mentioning Bone Shatter earlier. Bone Shatter's pretty good. Karin loves Bone Shatter. This is like, I'm sure a question we get all the time, which is like, I want a build that could do everything. You know, what should I play? It's really more comes down to what you enjoy, because builds play very differently, and the feel of a build is going to dictate, in a weird way, how good you are at playing it, because you're going to be having a better time. So if you fucking hate clicking 1,000 buttons, don't play a build that does that, because you're probably going to lament the experience and be doing worse. Or just if you enjoy just throwing seismic traps and melting things, that you're going to have a better experience with.
I think the one build that stands out for me, like I know Martin is answering that question all the time on his stream, is the Impending Doom. Like Impending Doom Pathfinder or Sign or even Occultist. That build is, I think, highlight of the league with all the curse buffs. So it's not that expensive in trade, I would say.
I mean, you need a Vixen and an Apex, you're going to go curse, that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you want to, do Uber bosses with like Transcendence, you just need a couple Fist-Take and S items and you're golden. But like, yeah, I think that build would be, I would recommend.
Yeah, agree.
Impending Doom. There's no shortage of variations of it. For those who.
What's your favorite Twitch emote, guys?
Oh boy. Um,
I'm gonna say all the cat emotes that are all the hype recently. Why is jiggling number one?
These are emotes specifically.
You don't have it enabled
from
though, Lighty,
Twitch,
so
right?
it's pretty cringe.
Wow,
Gotta be honest.
eat shit. My favorite emote is one of my own that no one uses, called Lighty Stare, and it's a screenshot I took of a man in the background of an episode of Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay, who was watching the owner of a restaurant belly dance as her business went under. And that is my favorite emote. Is this poor gentleman who's
Well,
just
when I
living
type
life
that
out there.
emote, I expect you to stare at me.
Nope,
So I'm
that's
disappointed.
it. It's just this one guy from an episode of Kitchen Nightmares watching from 8 tables back as an owner embarrasses herself. That is my pick.
For me, I'm in love with all the keg modes, the
Oh,
keg
boy.
G squad.
Oh, you know what? I do like extra wide peepo. I like the wide peepo, makes me happy. That's a good one. There's a question from ChatGP. Oh boy, what is your favorite game, and how has it influenced your life outside of gaming? It's deep. Why don't we start with easy for this one first?
What was that? That sounded very
It
deep.
was what's your social security number and your blood type? That was the question.
Yeah,
That was what's your favorite game, and how has it influenced your life outside of gaming?
Oh, I don't. I mean, obviously, I say Path is my favorite. I mean, I don't think I've played any other game more than 10, 20 hours outside of Path in the last 5 or 6 years.
Mm.
So, I mean, I'm not a diverse gamer. I guess I don't know how it's affected my life outside.
Well, resource management, maybe. You know, that's a pretty common one from games.
Yeah.
Maybe you're more fiscally responsible because you're fiscally responsible in solo self-found.
Right.
Followers.
Yeah.
That's a bit far-fetched, but sure.
Okay. Go play with your trains. What about you,
My
Manny?
favorite game was
Yeah.
Train Simulator, and you know how that ended up?
No.
How it affected my life? I bought some trains.
He's remortgaged his house to purchase a train yard.
Oh,
Leggy?
I don't want to, say the game that influenced me quite a bit, because there's some doctors in chat. They might have leave instantly, but it's the favorite MMORPG that maybe someone heard about is called some World of something.
World of
Trains.
Outlast.
World of Trains, I think.
Little trains. Yeah.
World of
Yeah.
Train.
The
I
new
mean,
DLC.
on serious note, I met like so many friends playing World of Warcraft, and still keep in touch. So I think my best friend at the moment, actually real friend, we met online and just
But us.
Hurt.
kept in touch.
So hurt.
So
If you-
fucking cringe.
If
I know,
if
but
you're gonna play WoW, I'd recommend playing WoW now. By the way, because Blizzard is imploding the company. It's probably your best shot. I might not be here next year, so if you're gonna play, now's a great time to play WoW. Manny,
log in, dude.
Manny,
Next question. This one was too real.
Okay, I'll answer the question. I'll just
Oh yeah, sorry.
how dare you?
We don't want to skip you.
But the only thing that really comes to mind, I don't think anything's influenced my life outside of gaming per se, but I distinctly remember getting on Christmas Day my Nintendo 64 and getting Banjo and Kazooie as my first N64 game
Anger.
and playing the shit out of that. That game was amazing. I remember I had the see-through purple controller, the really weird one. That was the one that came with that N64, and I just remember playing the shit out of it. That was the first time I got a game system and I just sat in front of my TV, 2 feet away for probably days straight. So that's the one I remember the most, at least.
I had that experience with Smash Bros. And a
Oh,
younger
yeah.
brother, and we played that pretty much forever after
sure,
getting an
yeah.
N64.
If you had an N64, do you remember the game Jet Force Gemini?
No, I didn't.
It was
play
a
that.
real piece of shit.
Why would I know it then?
Because it was great. The game had 8 direction camera controls, and it didn't line up with your character, so you had to rotate both sticks to move. It was just so games were so jank back then. I mean, they are now. We
That
play
sounds
Path,
amazing.
but it was just like games are. Man, you look back at some games. Like I remember playing. I think it was Madden 1998, and in my mind it was so good looking. And I saw a screenshot recently, and I was like, "This is like it's like watching ants run around. Like, what the fuck was I even thinking as a child?" Oh god.
It was the same for me with like FIFA, like 98 or something like that. I was like, yeah, it looks amazing. It's so great.
It's so realistic. You
Yeah,
can even see the
rose-tinted
crowd. They're like
glasses.
2 pixels per
I
person.
know the same three pixels like waving a sign up and down.
You can distinguish a leg on that guy.
Boy, not the
That's
leg.
insane.
That's where Legi comes from. Yeah.
True. The deep lore.
Another question. I switched from normal league cycle to just mapping during league and using standard to do my farmed bosses, etc. What league starter would you choose for next league? Kind of hard without knowing patch notes, but I mean, Impending Doom is up there for me if it still exists.
Yeah,
And
if nothing changes, I would start that again and again and again. That build's so easy to get
And,
going.
what
Well,
else?
not quite in SSF because you need the specific uniques, but
you just need Vixens, right, to technically start.
just, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know how it is.
I
Um,
played Poison and Cold every league, so yep, that's my go-to. Like I would start it next league if it's like slightly nerfed, I would say.
Yeah.
So Poison and
Seismic,
Cold is into
poison,
like
something.
Vixens,
Yeah.
like Plague Bearer, Poison's Concoction, BV.
Just poison. Just dot builds. Dot builds are really strong. I feel like early on, especially. They
Yeah, EA was
get
fine
you.
after a while, but I definitely think this time and going forward, I'm definitely going to start either Miner or like Seismic Trap. Whatever the flavor of the month is for
Yeah. Insert mine
Giga
trap still here.
DPS, no
Yeah.
unique. Sabo is probably going to be my league starter for.
It's not that much of a mystery for us. If we're playing a real build, it's gonna be like one of those doesn't require unique starters probably that just blows up bosses. I guess the most important thing is for league starting typically is that you can kill your starting bosses with like minimal investment because
Follower sound.
that's definitely the thing that's going to hold you back the most is like if you're hoping to like in SSF get like the fear to down week 1 and have your entire Atlas set up and stuff like that, you're going to be gate kept by just being able to kill the bosses like in a timely fashion because your defenses might not be up to snuff to where you could have a prolonged fight per se. But if you just have a fuck ton of damage, it kind of is irrelevant because you got six portals. So you walk in and seismic a boss and he's at half, he's half dead and you die. Well, it doesn't really matter. You just walk back in and kill it.
I mean, that's usually my approach towards the league start, but I think I'm gonna like just go pure mopper and like just kill boss once or twice and just blast mobs instead. Like maybe
Yeah, same.
not get like
'Cause-
6 points and just farm a little things.
Because now we're very much encouraged to do Uber bosses instead of the normal ones. So I would only kill them, once to get the voids down, and you don't even need all of them. 2 or 3 are enough.
Yep.
And then just focus on
Yeah,
mapping
exactly.
and save up all the bosses for like a reroll later and Uber boss them instead. That's what I'm doing right now, or what I would do next league.
Yeah.
I mean, my first shaper this league was Uber, for example. Like I literally didn't do a single normal shaper this league.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Another question we have, this is for everybody, and this could be expanded upon, but what is your opinion behind GGG locking the best character behind a $90 paywall, i.e. the Kadiro MTX? I guess in general, what are you guys' thoughts on microtransactions? Do you buy them, not buy them? Do you feel bad buying them? Whatever.
They're actually really good this time around, so I kind of feel like I'm missing out a bit, but they're just like unreasonably expensive, like they're so expensive, like $480 or something for the biggest pack.
Yeah, well, that's the Voidborn,
Like
and-
the hideout and the floating around MTX, some of those things are really cool, and I wouldn't mind having them, but no way that's worth that much
the
for me personally.
Yeah.
I bought the like second tier
kind of
of Korpak, the bird MTX, as some might seen on my
Classic
stream.
Classic tier 2 mind. Not quite tier 1.
I mean, usually my approach is like if I enjoy the product, if the product I think is good, then I'll just buy it. It's not like I want to support the company or something. It's just I like the MTX. I want my characters to look cool, so I'm just gonna buy it. It's not that much more like deep meaning behind it. But yeah, I don't know. I think MTX are fine.
It's funny because I'm the total opposite, where it's for those of us who've been playing Path forever. There was most uniques didn't have in-game art. And I basically at one point, when they started like, because they used to like not crank out MTX. They used to be like one every league, maybe, give or take. And now they crank out so many, and they're really, really high quality, which just makes it more painful when there's still uniques in game that don't have unique art that have been in the game for years. So for me, it's like I kind of have been like soft boycotting spending money on MTX until every unique has in-game art, which still isn't the case. And they've been trickling them in, kind of like they gave Acuities them, but they kind of look like shit. And then like there's still some that don't have them. But yeah, I'm kind of just waiting until all the uniques have art before I spend money, because clearly they have. They could make them, you know.
Wait a while longer then.
Wait a while. We're gonna be waiting forever, basically, until Path 2, I think. It's gonna be a long wait. Eventually, well, the second all uniques have art, I'll just spend 10 grand on about 10 grand in Wetas. That same day. All the Wetas. Yes.
Yes.
Any more questions in chat before we whatever? Well, I guess what do you guys think of the Voidborn Reliquaries? Because that's part of the MTX thing. Those are added to the game, you know? And they basically, I mean, I think almost every unique in the game is on that pool now. Pretty much.
I think they're kind of cool, but I really think they're really bad for the game. Like, I really think they shouldn't exist. Because how they were implemented, it was just either a really, really easy to spot cash grab, or it just bad for, just PoE economy as well, like just for the gameplay. Right? Like the first big uniques like Mage Bloods, or like, anything that's insanely rare from Uberboss is just going to come from the random void key, most likely. So,
yeah, like the first one you're saying in a league that are interested. Like
in a trade league scenario, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, we'll see how that goes on next league start.
Well, that's the other thing is I didn't see. So I read the supporter pack and I didn't see anything that mentioned, that they're gonna stay in the game for perpetuity. They're in the game this league. We know that, but
surely they're permanent, right?
Well, that's why I didn't read anything. Because I was reading through the fine print last time. I can't even fucking go deep enough, piece of shit. I didn't see anything that said that there's no guarantee they're going to be here forever.
Every other time they did keys, it's like one league a year.
Yeah,
they'll one league and then they'll take them out the next league. Like,
can you imagine if they sold thousands of these keys and they only existed for this one league? That'd be like a shit show. That'd be an
actual shit show. Yeah, I think so. People would be outraged because of that. I mean, I would if I would pay that
much. Some only got
money.
added just now, right? 2 months into the league, but some people already quit.
Well, even if they're here for next league and then they're gone, that still feels like
PoE 2, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like I kind of
think they're gonna come back in some leagues.
Yeah. But actually playing $480, this is the main draw. That's like, cool, you got your 2 leagues. All right, now you got next league is another thing. It's paying $600 for that one. It's like, if that's like the cycle, that seems a bit brutal. Not that that's the thing.
I like how much money they made from it. And hopefully they put that to good use and improve the game with it,
Yeah, that's just like...
It's like the best thing about it, probably.
They go right towards the secret card game they're making for the past 6 years. TCG. PoE TCG.
It's amazing to me how many people spend, so much money on supporter packs and support the game so much. So that other people can play for free, basically.
Sure.
Still get the updates all the time.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the financials are for TGG this year compared to last year. It'd be interesting to... I was looking through the information.
Probably going to be really healthy because overall they stepped up their MTX game, which is, I think, pretty agreeable consensus that most people have. But yeah,
I mean, we had the Keurig pass starting last year, right?
Keurig pass, yeah, Vault Pass. Only this one time. If you don't get it now, it's gone forever. Go buy it.
I didn't buy a single one of those.
Nope, too bad, gone forever.
Yeah, I didn't like any of them, but yeah, probably made millions, right?
The only part I didn't like about it is that it required map completion initially, and it made the price of Doriani's Machinarium in Trade League go from 60C to 15 exalted within an hour of them releasing the Kyrix Vault Pass. So it actually, them releasing that MTX affected the in-game economy, which was like kind of wild. That's a bit of a secondary thing.
It sucked for that one person that needed the unique boots from that map.
Oh yeah.
Now they have to pay a lot more.
It's a good question. How do you feel streaming has influenced your gameplay? Do you get more in the zone and play farm better, or does it slow you down? It makes me terrible when I'm on. I've become so shit. Like, I'm looking at chat half the time, which is why I typically play builds that are brain dead, because I'm looking at chat and talking to chat. So if I'm playing off stream, I make like 0 mistakes. I can do everything flawlessly. But if I'm on stream, I'm like trying to do, Uber Maven. I'm like, whatever. There's no shot. I play terribly when I'm streaming versus when I'm not streaming.
I think it's a lot more draining, just like paying attention and talking and everything. So like longer session are a lot more exhausting. But before I streamed, I oftentimes did, like level 100 races where I played very long hours and there was no problem to me. But while streaming, a lot harder to pull off. Like 10, 20 hours, that's crazy when you're streaming. It's so exhausting.
I don't have a problem with that, though. I think talking, the thing is, I'm pretty sure I have paranoid schizophrenia, right? I think if I wasn't on camera, I'd still be talking to myself for 10 hours straight. So I think that's probably there just happens to be a camera on me is the difference. I need to be locked up. That's what I'm
I
trying
don't
to
even
tell
have a camera. It would be even more exhausting if people could see me too.
Well, you have your camera,
Goblin
but that's
mode.
for your Chatterbait page. That's different. Yeah, it's for your OnlyFans.
It's only for my trains.
Okay.
Yeah, the only trains.
Onlytrains.com. What about yourself?
Yeah,
Maggie?
I second what you guys saying. It's much harder to stay focused and like keep up the efficiency, right? So it's much less efficient and like really hard to keep up.
Did you
the gameplay being high quality?
I wouldn't even say that, honestly. Like, I feel like when I'm streaming, I actually don't get distracted by anything, right? Like, I'm trying to not AFK or tab out and whatever. If I'm not streaming, I watch other streams and get distracted a lot more. When I'm streaming, I actually focus on the gameplay all the time, which maybe is why it's so much more exhausting. Actually, now that I think about it.
Be fair, yeah. Easy, you don't stream, but you do like talk to people and hang out in Discord when you're playing. Do you find that that's more distracting or less distracting than just like solitary, whatever?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like hit or miss, right? Like, so definitely like on league launches and stuff, I'm more active in Discord, but I'd say by like 1 month in, I'm typically off Discord and just kind of just focusing or doing whatever. So I'm kind of like I guess like an extrovert somewhat in that way. But yeah, so like, yeah, for like last like month, I've basically just been nose down trying to grind uniques out.
Do you watch or listen to anything while playing Path?
Yeah, typically, yeah, I'll have like someone stream in the background or put on like a Netflix show or something like that. Just some like audible stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely not talking or
not pure silence like a psychopath.
Yeah, not that crazy.
Game muted.
Oh no.
Yeah, just game muted, just no sounds in
a
my house at
vacuum,
all.
like a deprivation chamber playing Path.
Yeah,
Every
no dogs,
frame
just
must be
literally no
perfect.
sound.
Yeah.
Echo chamber.
Oh no. All right. I guess that's probably. You guys have any closing thoughts you want to talk about? Maybe we'll go from left to right. So easy first.
No, that's it. I mean, I think it was a good podcast. I'm glad we finally got to do it. I know we had a couple missed ones, but yeah, just good luck to you guys, everyone in chat. Whatever they're grinding, uniques or currency or next build or whatever. Just good luck at it.
Cool beans. Leggy,
Thank you.
don't you think?
Closing first.
Sure.
Why does jiggling?
Who's jiggling? What?
Everyone's jiggling.
Jiggling?
We definitely need to enable some more emotes before the next podcast.
No boy.
That was very depressing.
Oh my god.
I
No
couldn't
one
even spam
jiggled.
any widest jigglings while I was listening.
Disappointing.
Okay. Piece of shit. Manny, you're up. Nothing, Manny? All right, cool.
I just said already what I wanted to say.
You just with the jiggling?
Yeah, I'm glad we did the, yeah. I mean, the timing worked out pretty well, right? Because with the extension, we're pretty much exactly at the midway point right now.
Oh yeah, you mean in a way, yeah. I guess this was kind of initially going to be like at the back half of the league, but now we're just back in the middle, And honestly, this could be the beginning of the league, depending if they just scrap the next one. So who knows?
Oh my! I can't believe, but actually, I'm running some normal lab in the background, and as I just said that, I found an endurance grand spectrum. My last one.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks for the good luck
Oh,
wishes.
there he
Trick.
goes. He's gone. Okay. Well, he's back. Congrats. Congrats,
That's
Manny.
awesome.
Piece of shit.
On that note, I guess that's that. I
Oh
think
my
we'll probably do these live from now on, I guess. I think this was fine, right? And Iron will join us if he, whenever he can. And then maybe we'll have a guest on or something if someone can't make it. Yada yada.
Yeah, if the boys in chat enjoyed it, then yeah, I'm definitely down for doing live. I think it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. The live questions are much nicer than all the troll questions that you recorded
Yeah,
from
I
earlier.
mean, most of the non-live questions are like, why does your ass smell? And why is your penis so small? And it's like, I don't know why my parents keep submitting questions, but that's life, man. On that note, I'll live cams. Yeah, good luck with them. I mean, I don't know if you'll get them to do cameras. That's up to them. If half of us go cameras, then that'll be a thing. But I'm not gonna be the only one with a camera when no one else is fucking having cameras on. That's gonna be strange. So that's that. All right, cool. This was episode, I guess the 10th one of these. It'll be on YouTube, eventually, probably tonight. 0 editing done, and that's it. I guess the next time will be what? Maybe like a month from now or something. Who knows? Maybe sooner. If you feel like it.
And when Manni finishes his collection, because
Man,
he's
does he need Hateforge
German. You gotta find it like tomorrow.
Still? Okay. With his
I'm
luck,
not streaming today, so I'll find a couple more +1s probably.
probably.
Like literally off stream RNG abuser. Disgusting.
Just assume it's some weird solo self on RMT happening. Some deep state RMT. Okay, that's it.
Surprised.
We're
That's
done.
it.
See ya. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.